My name is Kelly.
My name's Jamie.
And this is Fanimated, an animation fan podcast where we get a chance to geek out about our favorite animated media.
I need everyone to know. You've seen the title of this episode, so you know what we're talking about. But I need everyone to know that the name of this video call is officially The Trauma House. And I clicked on the link, and I was like, hang on, did I read that right?
Yes, I just send Jamie the link to our video call. The Trauma House.
That's really
Ready?
good.
Because
oh, man.
the Owl House is full of our favorite thing.
We're going to talk about the Owl House, and also sadness. Yeah.
Oh, man. But Jamie and I are, super hyper excited to finally be recording an Owl House episode.
I don't want to, I feel like if I get too hyped up, it's going to make it sound like the previous things I've talked about the show I wasn't as excited about. And that's not true, because I loved all of those things. But you guys, the Owl House has been, I'm pretty sure the only thing in my brain for a good couple weeks now. And that does include, dreams.
Yes. I will echo that statement. My brain is just the Owl House, rot. It's so...
Yeah. If we weren't doing this episode, I would have to find some random person on the street and just be like, I need to talk to you for an hour and 20 minutes or so about this show. And they'd just be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's true. We just, the fandomness is just rising and boiling inside of us, and if we don't let it out, it'll just explode. And so the Owl House is obviously one of our favorite shows. I will say right off the bat as well, I genuinely have not been this excited about any piece of media in a long time.
That, yeah. I feel like that's a fair thing to say. So you know how in journalism sometimes headlines that are trying to be sensational will put something as a question, so it's like, oh, we didn't actually say that thing, we put a question mark at the end, so it's just a question. So that in mind, I kept thinking better than Gravity Falls? With a question mark. No one can hold me liable for what I just said. It wasn't a statement. It was a question.
It was a question.
Just putting the idea out there. No one can prove what I said or didn't say.
Yes. And of course, if you've listened to this podcast at all, you already know that I get pretty excited about a lot of animated media, but I don't have a problem just up front saying this is the best thing currently airing.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah.
Hands down, it's my favorite. And
oh man.
I'm sorry, Dragon Prince, but I care more about the Owl.
Gasp.
At this moment in time.
Yeah.
Ask me again in November when the Dragon Prince new season comes out. But I have gotten back into the depths of Tumblr internet because of this show. And I couldn't be happier to be there. So
oh yeah. Well, and so many elements of this show are perfect for, I mean, like you said, creating hype on Tumblr internet.
Oh yeah.
And theories and speculation and people talking about their favorite this or that, and it's lab grown to be as exciting of a community experience as possible in a really good way. I didn't mean that to sound cynical. It's in an awesome way.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like with any fandom, there are not so great parts of it, but
right.
I personally am having a good time. And so with all of that, with all of our excitement, prepped and ready to go here, spoiler warning.
Oh, 100%.
Big, huge, major, massive spoiler warning for the first two seasons of The Owl House. If you have not seen it, please do.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then come back to us, and we'll chat about it, and you can be hype with us.
And just in case that makes anyone feel like they're being a bad fan or anything like that, I want y'all to know I have 3 different Fanimated episodes that I've started and then stopped and not listened to yet because I haven't watched The Thing yet. And I'm going to come back to them. It's just taken me a while to get there. So I'm with you. I'm absolutely on your side in this.
Yes. Or if you're one of those people, I do understand.
Yeah.
Some people don't mind getting spoiled for things and they'll still
True.
enjoy the media regardless. If
That's
that
an
is
excellent
true,
point, yeah.
welcome.
Yeah,
I'd love to be your introduction to the crazy weirdness of the Owl House. And I hope that I encourage you to watch it because
That's an extremely good point, yeah.
yeah.
I was just talking to my sister-in-law earlier this week, and this happened to come up. And she specifically said, like, hey, I've had X, Y, and Z spoiled already just because it's big on the internet right now. Is it still worth it to watch the show? So I had to, like, genuinely sit down and think about that beyond just, like, oh, yes, of course. Like, genuinely think about, would you still have a good time even if you know some twists? And the answer I eventually came to was, like, yeah. I had to think about it for a second because I'm so used to... I don't want anything to be spoiled ever. I'm very used to that headspace. So once I sat down and thought about it, I realized there's so much more to this show than just twists. And that really helped me realize, like, yeah, that was kind of a silly thing to hesitate about because, of course, it's still fun, you know?
Oh, yeah. And some shows are not. But this show definitely is, like, worth the journey regardless of if you know the spoilers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So, brief synopsis. And again... brief, because we have a lot to get through in this episode.
Oh my gosh.
If this turns into one of those 3-hour-long episodes, I wouldn't be surprised, but also I hope that I can edit the hype. Okay.
You're right.
So, with all that preamble, The Owl House is a show that airs on Disney Channel. Started in 2020 by Dana Terrace. Everyone loves Dana Terrace because
Yay!
She worked on things like DuckTales and Gravity Falls and pitched to this weird, crazy, wild show. And Disney was like, okay, sure.
Oh, man.
So the first 2 seasons of The Owl House, the basic premise is that Luce is a young girl who is weird. Like, that is her basic starting personality trait.
Yeah.
And she's so weird that her mom sends her to, like, a summer camp to try to make her more normal. And instead of doing that, Luce, basically an owl steals her book and she follows it into a demon realm. This is classic Alice in Wonderland shenanigans, everybody.
I'm a big fan of the bluntness of this synopsis so far. It's just very much like, then there was an owl, then there was a door, and then suddenly Demon Realm. It's just like, yeah, okay, that tracks. That sounds about normal for Disney Channel.
Right? This entire show seems like not the Disney Channel show. And then eventually, and we'll get to it, but then Disney Channel figured out that it's not a Disney Channel show and then decided to cancel it.
Strap in, guys. This episode has depressing parts too. Yeah,
oh no. So Luce the nerd, the obsessed with fantasy novels nerd, ends up in a fantasy world herself, only to discover that it's not a place of magical, like, sparkles and whimsy. It's a place of just demons and trauma.
Yeah.
And so she meets Ida, the owl lady, and basically decides, well, instead of going to summer camp, lame, I'm going to hang out here and be Ida's apprentice and learn to be a witch, just like Azura in her favorite book series. And so season 1 is basically us as the audience getting to learn the world, getting to learn the characters. Luce makes new friends at the school. You know, we get to understand that there is a, like, empirical system, basically. There's an empire. Yeah. There's an emperor, and he has created this coven system where there are 9 major covens and hundreds of smaller ones, in which basically every witch, because everyone in the Boiling Isles is either a demon or a witch species. It's kind of like who they are, right? And so witches have to choose basically what coven they're going to be in, and then they get branded with a coven sigil, and then they can only do that specific type of magic for the rest of their lives, basically. And this is, and everyone loves the coven system. Everyone loves Bellows, except for people like Ida, who are quote unquote wild witches because they don't have a coven. And they do every type of magic. And so Ida is a wanted criminal. And she lives in the owl house that is a legitimate house demon named Hootie, who is basically a tube. And then King, who is a demon that she adopted, basically, and it's super cute. He's basically a child who dreams of dominating the world.
He weirdly has some qualities of like a pet dog, but also some qualities of like a person, and also some qualities of like a demon who wants to destroy reality.
All of those bundled together in this cute little package, and King is truly fantastic. Both King and Hootie are voiced by Alex Hirsch, the creator of Gravity Falls, and goodness. That basically tells you all you need to know. Yeah. Also, side note about Hootie, just really quick. I know we're trying to go through brief synopsis, but yeah. People are either on two ends of a very, very wide spectrum with Hootie. You either think that he is absolutely disgusting and hideous and cannot stand anything that bird does, or you're like me and you think it's absolutely freaking hilarious and will basically die for this tube bird.
The best part of that description is that you're exactly right, but also that is how people react to him in the show.
Like everyone thinks he's disgusting and weird, except for one character, and it's Lilith, and Lilith and him have the best of friendships. And
I've decided you're great and that we're best friends. Yeah.
Oh, it is fantastic. It's fantastic. So, season 1.
His name is Hootie.
Hootie. And he just goes hoot hoot. So the basic overarching mystery of season 1 is learning about Ida and her curse.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that is I hadn't really considered season 1 to have one theme, but now that you say that, yeah, that absolutely is. Huh.
Yeah. It's basically two things, really. Luce trying to learn magic, because she's a human without magic. And so she learns how to use magic by observing the world around her and writing. She can write glyphs, and that becomes her magic, instead of the witches, you can either draw a spell circle with your finger, or you can use a palisman, which is their staves, to create the magic. And so she can write glyphs, and that's her magic.
So she just carries little pieces of paper everywhere, and she gets really good at it.
She's really good at it. She can put all of the different glyphs together to do different things. It's really cool. And then you learn about Ida and her curse, because she has the curse of the owl beast, and so she will turn into an owl beast. And season 1 is about you discovering how that affects her life, has affected her relationships with people, has affected her future, and she eventually, you find out how she got the curse in the first place. And briefly, she was cursed by her own sister Lilith, and Lilith regrets it greatly and joined the Emperor's Coven in order to try to heal her sister. But of course that ended up straining their relationship even more, etc. And eventually Lilith does a spell where she takes half the curse back. So now they're both cursed. But and in trying to save Ida at the end of season 1, Luce destroys the portal back to the human realm because Emperor Bellows wanted it. So those are like all of the major things from season 1.
Yes. I'm really glad you did that because I watched season 2 much more recently than season 1. So some of that was a little bit, oh yeah, I kind of forgot that happened just because it's been a while.
Yes, exactly. Because there's so much that happens in season 2. Listen, okay,
goodness,
just
yeah.
like with any cartoon, this always happens, right? Season 1 is awesome, fun, it's great. Season 2, things get real.
Yeah, season 1 is what could go wrong. Season 2 is, oh,
this is what can go wrong.
yeah.
And like I would argue like the overarching like goal of season 2 is like Luce trying to reopen a portal and to get back home. Like that's the overarching goal, and in doing so she finds out about a human, Philip Woodbane, who traveled to the demon realm just like her hundreds of years ago, and she's able to find remnants of his diary to like try to piece together how he was able to do that, and how he was able to travel between realms. And then while this is happening, you're also learning about the Emperor and his nephew Hunter, who is the Golden Guard, right hand of the Emperor. And you're learning about Belos and this Day of Unity and whatever that means. And find out, he's building a portal too, and what is going on here, etc., etc. Until chaos rains down upon them all.
Until things absolutely pop off, yeah.
Exactly. So hopefully that gives us some brief context for if you haven't seen the show and are wondering what's going on. I'll say too, like other characters to remember are like the friends at Hexside, which are Willow, Gus, and Amity. And then the Emperor's Castle characters that I'd say are most important are Belos, Hunter, his nephew, Lilith, who in the first season is the head of the Emperor's Coven, and Rain Whispers, who is the head of the Bard Coven.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, threw a whole bunch of information and names at you. But that's like basic synopsis territory, and obviously things go wild from there.
The plot structure you've described, I really, really love the decision to I'm trying to put this in terms that make sense. The decision to like have the magic system, because there absolutely is a magic system in this story, right? Mm-hmm. Completely tied to the plot of what the government is and what the villains are. So like every time you learn something about one, you're also learning about the other. So because that doesn't feature as much in the beginning of season 1, you are mostly spending time with friends and just getting character stuff, and then like bit by bit, both the plot and how the magic works are both creeping into the story, and like you get more at a very, I would argue, a slow pace, but in like the best possible way, because every little bit you learn makes you more and more intrigued about where the story's going to go, how the magic stuff works. And because they've done such a good job with the characters and making you really like them, you are also immediately wondering, how is this going to impact the characters? And like the slow drip setup of that, I feel like is really, really genius for season 1, because it just does such a masterful job of building hype, just like we were talking about.
Yes,
because once you learn more and more and more about it, you realize how big things could get, and they absolutely do. But even when you haven't gotten to that point yet, you're still like, oh man, this is becoming something really special, you know?
Oh yeah, and I would especially emphasize the how it all connects back to the characters. Like, this is such a character-driven show, even though the plot itself and the world are all fantastic and really well put together. Like, ultimately, it's about the characters. It's what I love the most about this show, is just, like, every single character develops and grows and changes throughout the seasons. And, like, also, just, like, and I think this is, you know, already praised, you know, for the Owl House, but I'll repeat it, but like the diversity in characters and diversity not only in LGBTQ+, but also in ethnicity and neurodivergency and disability and like all these other things, or just all of these characters are truly fantastic, truly like given their own time to shine and to change and grow. And just like okay, there is one character I like more than all of them. I think that's pretty clear.
Right.
But like, other than that, I cannot rank them because I love them all.
Yeah, and like, there's so many good characters that the only flaw or criticism I can think of might be you gave us too many characters, and it's hard to keep track of all of them because they're all great. Like,
absolutely, like truly, like I can't go through any character and be like, I don't like them for any reason. Like, even Bellows, not gonna lie, Bellows is one of my favorites.
Bellows is awesome. I am like so okay. We'll probably get to Bellows later, I assume, because Bellows is so weird and interesting and has a absolutely fantastic voice performance.
Oh,
and, like,
yeah.
I'm could not say enough good things about what they did for Bellows. Like, oh.
Okay, well then let's start with our protagonist instead of starting with our antagonist, and we'll and we've talked a little bit about Luz already. Luz Naceta, a Dominican American, wonderful, enthusiastic, positively overly optimistic protagonist that she is.
Luz is I really wanted to just immediately be like, Luz is so great. Luz is the best. And the reason I held back from that is because I wanted to stop and try to come up with like thoughts about why that is before I just start rambling. And I think I'm still not quite there yet because I'm having a hard time putting my thoughts into words. But like, there is something so delightful about how Luz looks at, I think the challenges in front of her. Like, there's something very fascinating about a character who is doing her best with odds that are really stacked against her because she doesn't have this innate power that everyone else has. So she has to be learning all the time, constantly, just to keep up. And, like, also trying to get what she specifically wants, which is figuring out how to go home. And also having the, I don't know, Steven Universe-ness of trying to make literally everyone she meets her friend. And like, there is such a sincerity and kindness there, I think, that even if she wasn't more than that, I think I would still be really impressed and have a great time with following this character. But she is also one of the funniest characters I've ever seen, and like genuinely ridiculous all the time.
Yes, like she truly is like just goes off to the most crazy solutions. Like she thinks up the wildest things to try to fix stuff, and like I absolutely adore that weirdness about her, and it's so endearing. And like, especially a thing I love about Luz is something, how you phrased her Steven Universe-ness is a great way to put it, because Steven Universe is always like solving conflict through the power of friendship. And Luz definitely has that energy and that almost naivete about like, everyone deserves a chance, and like she's very, very, open about everything, and she just wants to trust everybody. And what's fantastic about this show is that like both Bellows and Hunter manipulate that.
Oh yeah,
like, and to an extreme degree.
Definitely.
From Bellows' side especially.
There are points in season 2 that are genuinely hard to watch, having nothing to do with violence or like anything that is physically dark on the surface, but just because of how heartbroken she is at being like being extremely vulnerable and trying to reach out her hand to someone and having that like totally dashed against the rocks. It sucks because she is like such a good person.
And I am so excited. Like, I kind of, obviously, like, I wouldn't wish this upon people, but, like, for her character development, it's fantastic to see her being torn down.
Right. From a purely narrative standpoint, I want to make that clear.
Yes. And, like, and to see those moments where she really is just at her lowest, and like how she comes back from that, and like ultimately I hope she doesn't lose her her sense of I guess forgiveness and openness to people, but I do think that over her experiences she's hardened a bit.
Yeah, I think that's accurate, especially given some pretty intense moments in season 2 where she is much more I don't want to say quick to violence, because that's not really it, but like less hesitant about choosing violence once all other options have been disregarded.
Yes. Certainly.
It's like the eternal fan problem with characters you love, right? Which is like, if I had my way, this person would not suffer, and only the good things for them, because I care about them and I want them to succeed. But also
all of my favorite characters are the traumatized ones.
Yeah. But also I want them to cry. Like,
I need to see them break.
Yeah, I need this story to just absolutely go off the walls and make everyone depressed.
Exactly.
Luce, I want to throw this in there before I forget.
Yeah.
Luce is one of those characters that I don't think I even came up with this. I think I saw a comment about it somewhere, but it was like, Luce is one of those characters where even when she's not in the scene, even when she's not in the episode, you can see how much she has affected the people around her in like such interesting and cool ways, because sometimes it is emotional, and it is in terms of like how people are treating their relationships, like, oh, they probably picked that up from Luce, and like from Luce and her spirit of like trying to connect people and open up to people and be kind to everyone she meets. But sometimes it's literal, as in like, oh, they learned that trick from Luce, like that's a spell that Luce did, you know? Like,
yes. Oh yeah, definitely. Or like, oh, that's a human thing that she taught
yeah
them.
Yeah, that's right
Like hugs.
Oh man, yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. Hugs were not... Luce is like patient zero for hugs becoming a thing in this world.
Yes.
Like, she is the start point, and now it's just everywhere. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Oh man, I love Luce. Love Luce. Can we talk about Ida and also Lilith? Like, I want to put them in the same boat, because I feel like...
Yes.
Especially season 1, they are the foils to each other, and their story is kind of in the same direction.
And Ida is like so close to being the main character, I feel like, but Luce just barely pushes her. No? Ooh, well, interesting.
Here's my problem with this show. It's not a problem. It's a good thing. It's a good problem. Is that I genuinely think about 3 other people aside from Luce could be the main character of this show.
Yes, right? No, dude, I totally feel the same way. Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, yeah, Ida's the main character, but is King the main character?
Yeah,
is Belos the main character? Is Hunter now the main character?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But yes, obviously Ida is even the first character to have been, developed in the mind of Dana Terrace for the show.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's at least how she has stated it before. And Ida is, I want to relate this to Gravity Falls again, because like, again, it's kind of, they do definitely have similar vibes, except of weirdness and like scary and all of that. But like the Owl House is turned up to like an 11.
Yeah.
And like, if you know the Gravity Falls and you know Grunkle Stan, like Ida is the Grunkle Stan of this universe. Like, she is a con artist. She is like doing like weird illegal things for money.
Right.
But she has more character development.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I was gonna say the Stan analog definitely works in many ways, actually. But like, there is just something that feels like, if I were to try to write it down, I don't know if I'd be able to write it out into words, but there is something about her that makes her feel like so inseparably like herself and not someone else, She doesn't feel like a caricature. She like truly has depth to her. Yeah. Yeah. And she has like such a striking character design that it makes absolute perfect sense to me that she was the first character to be like thought up.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like she's the owl lady. She's the wild witch. She is the most powerful witch on the Boiling Isles. Like,
that's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
She has all these titles as being this most powerful witch, right? And then like she ends up losing all of her power. And like I find that a fascinating aspect. And then like we get to see so much of Ida as a younger person and get to see so many flashbacks of her and who she was. She was always the troublemaker, right? Like, but she was always there for her sister, and she was actually very naturally gifted. And Lilith, her sister, like worked really, really hard to kind of keep up, right? And ultimately, it was a just form of jealousy that Lilith decided to hinder Ida by cursing her without even knowing exactly what the curse was going to do.
Yeah. It's such a weird combination of not an accident because she did it on purpose, but the result was horribly different from what she was expecting.
And I love the curse because you can compare it to a lot of real life scenarios and find ways, to interpret that or find comfort from it. And of course, my initial reaction to it, especially with Lilith being involved, is listen, kids can hurt other kids without them knowing what they're doing.
Right.
Bullying, abuse, whatever it is. Lilith hurt Ida.
Oh, yeah.
And she had intention behind it, even if she didn't fully understand all of the consequences of it. And she immediately regretted it, of course. But even something as simple as a bully saying something, just words, right? Or whatever it is, that can take years and years and years and years to fix, to continue to work through. And it is stuff and you can also interpret it as whether it's some sort of illness or some sort of other disability. Ida has to go through her entire life fighting this curse, dealing with this and taking potions to settle it, dealing with the consequences of her turning into owl beast form and hurting her father, of her struggling with her relationship with Rain because she can't communicate well about the curse, and so they break up. There's so many things that's this curse affected her life so greatly, and Lilith decides for her she's going to go to the Emperor's Coven, and the Emperor will the Emperor is the most powerful being, he will be able to cure Ida, but of course that's a manipulative lie as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
I could just go on and on about these two, but I really am fascinated by the idea of Ida's curse and all that we still don't know about it, I guess.
I had not spent much time thinking of how that could relate to real world problems and relationship pains, I guess. I'm not what while you were saying that is extremely what I find extremely interesting, now that I'm thinking about that, is the decision to have the curse still be there even after they have reconciled and had some emotional moments where they kind of go over what happened to them when they were kids, what they did to each other, and Lilith apologizes, and they are moving forward as sisters, and they are trying to clear the air and make things better between them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the curse is 100% still there. And you comparing that to things going on in real life suddenly made me think oh, yeah, that tracks, because you can do your best to forgive or be forgiven or try to come clean about stuff that happened and try to repair that relationship. It doesn't actually make the hurt go away, though. And that sucks. And that is, now that I sit down and think about it, kind of a shocking thing to put in this story that's airing again on the Disney Channel. What an amazingly mature thing to communicate to kids. And maybe not every kid is going to pick up on it, but it's a wonderful I don't want to say lesson, because it's not like oh, the moral of the story, but like what an interesting thing that people can look at and maybe understand a little bit better and carry with them going forward, of like, this might be a way that relationships work, and a way they get hurt, and a way they can continue anyway. And and Lilith decided Bellows is the one who will solve this problem. Nothing can possibly go wrong about this.
Nothing could possibly go wrong, and yet it does. I will say too, like, just really quick, with Ida and Lilith, their fight at the end of season 1 is one of the best scenes in the entire show.
Oh man, you guys, Owl House does the thing. If anyone is wondering, Owl House does the thing where, like, they take their animation budget and they, like, I don't know, save part of it, like tuck it under a mattress or something,
Yeah.
and then as soon as they get to, like, a really big fight, they're like, okay, somebody go find that mattress, because we're gonna do the thing. And, like, the animation is different in a way I do not know how to articulate, because it's not faster, I don't think, and I don't think it's, like, a graphical thing, but it looks so freaking good. And that's on top of the creative and writing choices they put into these fights, which are shocking. Like, I've seen high budget movies in theaters that were, like, less good than this.
Yes, agreed wholeheartedly, because this fight is building up, and, like, Luce is in danger, and Ida's and Lilith are going at it, and they're both super powerful, and then, like, it builds to the climax of Lilith, you know, literally just being like, I'm the one who cursed you, basically.
Yeah, because we didn't know that yet.
Exactly, and it just completely wrecks you. It's like, it is so well done. It is so good.
Is that happening at the same time, or is it, like, just before or after, maybe, when Luce is fighting Bellows at the end of season 1?
No, it is specifically on the bridge of the castle. It is between Lilith and Ida, because, like...
No, yeah, for sure, but, like, is it cutting back and forth? I'm trying to remember if they happened at separate times.
Because Luce is there at the bridge.
Oh, yes, that's right, she's there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's right. Yeah.
Because Lilith uses possibly hurting Luce against Ida.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. And so Ida,
she's trapped.
That's how Ida gets captured, is because, like, she can't let them hurt Luce.
Oh man, yeah. I was gonna compare it to the end of Avatar, when there's, like, 2 incredibly high hype battles happening at the same time, cutting back and forth. But I think you're right. I think it was one at one part of the episode, and the other one is completely separate at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Which I think the comparison still holds up, because both fights are insane. Luce fighting... Okay, guys. When... So, in season 1, Luce does not actually meet Bellows for a while, and she doesn't really get the chance to talk with him much until even later. And I think even the audience doesn't see a whole ton of him in season 1. It's, like,
barely.
Very sparing.
Yeah.
So... when you get to the end of season 1, and all of a sudden there's a moment where Bellows is like, I'm going to throw everything I have at you, it is horrifying. There's one particular attack he does, which I can only describe as Nightmare Worm Behemoth, which is, like, one of the scariest pieces of animation I think I've ever seen. And Luce is just like, I guess I'm going to try to run away from that. I am a human teenager. I'm going to do my best.
I am level 1 wizard. I need to run away.
Luce is absolutely level 1, yeah. And it's absolutely astonishing. They do such a good job of very much impressing upon you what a dangerous situation she's in, while also keeping it believable what she does try to do to turn the tables a little bit and get any kind of upper hand she can. Because it's not just like, it turns out Luce was actually a better fighter than Bellows is. It's like, it is ingenuity and thinking way, way, way outside the box. And it's so satisfying to see, like... I've completely changed subjects by this point. I apologize.
That's really fine. I'm for it.
It is so satisfying to see Luce, like, who has been struggling to get better at magic, get better at defending herself, learning more about the world she's in, use those things, but also her innate weirdness and out-of-the-boxness, I guess, to actually surprise Bellows and, like, get some hits in and prove that she's someone not... not to be trifled with. As soon as I was about to say that, and I was like, that's such a cliche, but you know what? Sure, Luce is someone who's not to be trifled with.
She is not to be trifled with. And it all comes back to her weird, crazy, creative solutions that are just so out of the box. And that's how she is successful.
Yeah. It's so fun seeing a character who is rewarded for being 100% herself, and not just you have to train and you have to figure this out and you need to here are the goals we have set for you because you're the chosen one. And instead of that, there might be a little bit of that, but instead of that, it is like she is herself, and she makes it, she somehow finds ways that she succeeds, and it's really incredible to watch. Yeah.
One more thing about Ida before we move on. I also enjoy her character development of, like, at the beginning being so, like, against being maternal at all.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
And then officially adopts King, and also has to make sure she has the right kind of human food that Luce can eat.
Yeah, that she can digest without, like, getting sick or dying or something.
Oh my goodness. It's just really cute, and, like, especially, like, near the end of season 2, they're worried about the Day of Unity, and Ida is like, get my kids out of here, like, just trying so hard just to protect them.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. Yeah.
This is like another overarching thing that has nothing to do with character specific, but it's just something I love about the show.
Yeah.
It's the fact that the adults act like freaking adults.
This is an excellent point. This is extremely true. Yes.
And so, like, the adults are the ones that are actually part of a rebellion against the Emperor. And
yeah.
And, like, during, like, the Day of Unity, they're trying to, like, stop this horrible thing from happening. Basically, Belos is going to try to, like, drain the magic from everyone that has a sigil, and which will kill them, in order to A, kill them because he wants to kill them, and B, open up the portal. And so he can go into the human realm. But basically, all of the adults are part of this, like, rebellion group to end this, and they purposely send the kids off on a different errand.
Yeah.
So that they can be safe.
It genuinely feels like, not only is this cool in the story, like, not only do I really like where this is going, but it also feels like it makes sense for them to do that.
Yes.
Because, like, the kids have so much to deal with. It is absolutely fascinating getting a glimpse into what they're trying to do and how they think about things, but it's also extremely worth pointing out that the adults are trying to balance being in a rebellion but not giving away the secrets, wanting what's best for the world around them and the people they know, specifically wanting the kids to be safe, and number 4, like, how do we do those first 3 things while also acting out our day-to-day lives? Because some of them are in the castle, some of them are, like, you know, some of them are Ida and Lilith. They have so much to balance and to figure out that you really get a better appreciation for, like, who they are as characters, even though they are not the usual teenage protagonists. Like, it makes perfect sense why they are in slightly different groups in this show. Like, that really felt natural, and I feel like they did a fantastic job with that.
Fantastic job. And yes, this is a typical young adult fantasy adventure where the kids are the heroes, but right. Like, actually this world is not telling the kids to save the world. You know, like,
yeah.
It's not like Harry Potter. It's been prophesized that you will like kill the Voldemort or whatever. You know, it's not like any of those things that all of those books are and movies and things like. It's always about that, right? It's always like, who, you know, you sit there and you wonder who in Hogwarts let this happen. You know.
I want that on a t-shirt, yeah.
But this is like, no, the adults are stepping up, and the adults, like, truly, like, like you said, like, they have their own character, like, they have their own plots and stories and relationships with each other, and there's all this great stuff happening, like like the adults are just as interesting as the kids, and I just love that. And I love that, like, Ida is so protective of her kids, and yeah, it's just nice to see parental figures in a cartoon who weren't just complete idiots.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I bet maybe if I sat down and really thought about it, I could think of like one or two who are kind of incompetent, but I can't think of any right now. And I don't think there are any moments where they purposely send the kids into danger. Like, every time I can think of, they're actively trying to keep them out of it.
Yes, and they just keep finding their way. And...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, 100%. Either through the weirdness of the universe itself, or because the kids directly chose to go into peril. Ida is just such a fascinating character for someone to like drop a teenager in front of and be like, you need to take care of this person now. Because she's not human, so she has even more of like it's the awkward I don't know how to be a family thing turned up to the max, because she doesn't even know like what she kind of knows what humans are, but she certainly doesn't know how to live in the building with one, you know?
Right. I mean, she knows out of, all the witches on the Boiling Isles, she's been to the human realm multiple times. She's the one who had the human portal to begin with. But she, like, steals stuff from the human realm and then sells it to people on the Boiling Isles.
Oh my god. She is Grunkle Stan. Whoa, but in, like, reverse.
Yes.
Whoa.
Instead of Grunkle Stan selling humans weird supernatural stuff, she is selling... like witches,
weird
and
supernatural
demon,
people,
the human
stuff. A bunch of boring human stuff, Wow, I actually didn't even catch that part.
Anyways, where were you?
I was gonna talk about Camila.
Let's talk about Camila.
Yes. Yeah, I don't remember if anyone addresses her by her first name. Is it Camilla or Camila? Do we know?
That is an excellent question.
Yeah,
I've been saying Camilla.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't tell you, honestly.
Please don't hate us.
Luce's mom,
Mrs. Nacetta.
Yeah, Miss Nacetta. I don't... This is a character who has very, very little screen time, which makes it wild that I don't know how to even begin talking about how great she is. Because, like...
Yes!
When you have a character who's been... Like, your main character is in another world, isekai style, and separated from their family, it is so easy to, like, ignore that completely. But if you want to not ignore it and be like, no, this character really does care about their family back home, it's tricky to do that. Because, like, either you need to show them a lot, which... can be difficult if you don't want them to be a part of the main story, or you don't show them and you just kind of mention it a lot, and fans probably wouldn't be super interested. But the Owl House has struck such a fascinating balance of giving you just enough of who Luce's mom is that you slowly over time, or maybe some people figured it out right away, but you slowly over time realize, oh no, this woman is in so much pain over her daughter being missing. And like, not in just I bet you didn't think of this plot hole kind of way. It's more of in like that's like part of the theme of the show is this separation and this pain. Oh, I suddenly understand Ida better now. Oh, I suddenly understand Luce better now. Like, oh my gosh. Of course Luce being here is actually bad. Like,
yes.
It almost feels like a twist, honestly. In addition to the actual twists with her mom, because there are some twists. But, like, they do such a good job of making a perfectly normal human character absolutely fascinating and lovable. Because instead of being super crazy, she's, like, a tiny bit goofy, but very, very restrained, very, very little. She's mostly a pretty normal person, and she is, like, I want to cry at half her scenes. Because she's literally just like, I want my daughter to come home.
Yes!
Oh, man.
Like, Mrs. Nacetta is one of the absolute, like, queens of animated moms.
Yeah.
And we basically have only gotten one episode with her.
Yeah, it's wild. It is wild how much of an impact she's had, even though we see her so little.
Like, for context, there's a basilisk named V who found her way through the portal when Luce did, except in reverse.
Yeah.
Ended up in the human realm and disguised herself as Luce and basically has been living as Luce this whole time. And
my gosh.
And through this wild, crazy adventure, Mrs. Nocetta finds out about this and immediately is like, just embraces V as her own.
Yeah.
Like, immediately adopts her, basically, and is like, you're safe here, and you're such a brave girl, and, like, you know, even after knowing she's a basilisk, and yeah, like you said, the twist, I guess, is that, like, when Luce finally can be communicating with her mom, like, Mrs. Nocetta is like, wait, you, like, did you not like living here? Like,
oh no,
like, she was so hurt that, like, man. Luce would decide to stay in the demon realm instead of come home. Yeah. And, like, I feel like that can be also, like, a really real thing of, like, every mom wants their baby to come home, but also, you know, Luce has found a place where she really truly belongs, much more than she ever did in the human realm. And that's not because her mom was bad in any way, but just because of, like, who she is and the friends that she's found in the demon realm.
It's such a fantastic problem to have, because, like, in that episode when it's sort of complicated, but Luce is, like, kind of back partially in the human world for a short time. There's more details to it, but, like, for now she's sort of there, but she's gonna go back. And, like, the story of that episode works itself out, and, like, V is safe, and Luce gets to talk to her mom, and everything feels like it's really positive. And then during their conversation, Miss Nocetta finds out that, like, oh, you actually did choose to stay. Like, this wasn't 100% you never were able to come back. You actually made a choice at one point. And it suddenly shifts the tone. And they do a really good job with the animation and the music and what's going on in the scene. There's this awful, awful rainstorm. And, like, they do such a good job of making you realize, okay, this is the dark side of fantasy stories where the kid winds up in a weird, fantastical world. Because she is so heartbroken. And that, of course, that's the exact moment Luce starts getting pulled back to the demon world. And Luce is like, no, I haven't explained, I haven't apologized enough, I haven't said everything I need to say, and she's just yanked back. Yeah. And, like, her mom is just left standing there like, oh, cool, I guess this is something that I don't get to resolve, I don't get to have my daughter back yet, I don't get to fully process what happened, I don't think, because she's been through so much realizing that V was not actually her daughter, trying to help her anyway, seeing Luce but only as a vision partially. This woman has gone through so much in such a short time. It's astonishing that she's not the protagonist. Like,
again, right? Brutal. We go back to the fact that every side character could be a main character of this show.
Absolutely. It's wild. And that episode ends on such a strong note of, like, this is a bad thing, actually, that you really feel how hurt everyone is. And they could have tried to like push that to the side and focus on, it was a good episode and it was successful and we saved some people and things are mostly good. But instead they really hammered home the devastation of being, it's almost a little bit like the Ida and Lilith thing of, like, family hurting each other. Like, was it intentional or not? Were there consequences you didn't expect? Like, that hurts so much. Even when there are ways you can kind of reconcile and kind of move on, that is still there. And, like, that's something that at time of recording has not fully been resolved yet. Like,
yes.
We'll see what happens in season 3, but for the moment, Luce and her mom are still in such a difficult place just with everything that's gone on. And again, I cannot say enough how good this writing is and how mature it is and how much it's an incredible story for kids to see, I think, because they can learn a little bit about this. Again, this might be how relationships work, and it might be part of something you can try to understand better, try to understand other people better. Like, it's really something special. Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better than myself. Absolutely. Oh, there's a lot.
She's
there's a
so
lot there.
great. And she even gets like a little action scene where she's fighting the weird
Jacob
conspiracy-
Hopkins.
Yeah. Was that his name? The conspiracy theorist
Yes.
guy? Oh man. It was so satisfying for her to like beat him up with a flip-flop. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. He's the
Oh, Lord.
weird conspiracy theorist who is trying to hunt witches.
I really like how they made it clear that, like, he technically was correct about a couple things, but that's not the problem. The problem is that he's a terrible person. And I'm like, you know what? I really appreciate that distinction, actually. Yeah. We're not going to mock people for being, like, weird or out there. We're going to mock them for being cruel.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. It's not, that,
Yeah.
you know, it's definitely how he treats others that is
Right.
the major problem here.
Exactly, yeah.
While we are talking about the adults, I need to talk about at least one more. Besides Bellis, we'll get to him last. Rain Whispers.
Yeah! Oh, man.
They are, again, I can't rank these characters, but
Yeah.
they are one of my favorites. Like,
Oh, yeah.
every time they're on screen, I have a giant smile on my face because I just, like, I love that, well, the conflicting idea that they are the head of the Bard Coven,
Yes.
and yet they have crippling stage fright. So that's the first thing. Second,
They actually hate being around and interacting with people, which is just the funniest possible idea. When you're in a culture like America where like D&D and stuff is becoming more popular, and like the joke about bards is that they're always charismatic all the time. They're like, our bard character is gonna be a nervous wreck everywhere
negative
they
charisma.
go. Yeah, negative charisma. Yeah. Oh my gosh, they're so fun. Yeah.
They're so fun. And then they have, like, honestly, some of the coolest magic in the show.
Yeah, right? Oh, man.
Bard magic can do everything, apparently. It's awesome.
To the point you could almost argue it's kind of OP compared to the other ones.
Probably.
But it all like you don't even care because the animation of people playing instruments and like that specifically is how the magic happens looks and sounds so good that you don't even worry about it. Yeah.
And then, of course, I just love Rain and Ida together. They're
Yeah.
adorable, and I need them to get
man.
together by the end of the show.
I really love the decision to like go into it and have an actual honest to God we are exes now and that's awkward storyline.
Yes.
Because like that can be done poorly and that can be sort of a trap of like some cliches and stuff, but they do such a good job of like, here are the specific reasons things didn't work out, and here is how that relates to both of these characters as who they are now, and here is how weird and interesting it is when they're interacting going forward.
Yes.
And they do such a good job of that. Oh my goodness.
And we get to see so many flashbacks and so many like cool stories of them when they're younger, and like, and I love them. And it has been like said at some point, I know that like they, if there was more of the show that could have been developed, they would have loved to, the Owl House crew would have loved to explored Rain and Ida's relationship and their history together even more. Which is, yeah, they're great. I love them.
They do not get nearly enough time.
They're awkward and fantastic.
The idea of the idea of this person who is in their normal day-to-day life, they have this very prestigious high-ranking position, and in that position they're extremely nervous and socially awkward, but they also have this secret rebel life where they're like way more jazzed about it.
Yeah.
And that is hilarious because
Yes.
the idea, you realize this essentially makes Rain like a comic superhero, right? Because they're
Yes,
like,
actually, wow, that's a good point. Oh,
because like they hate being around people, and they hate like trying to give speeches or anything like that. But as soon as they put on this mask, it's like, I can do anything.
I am a bat now.
Yeah, I'm a bat. Oh, man.
Oh,
the
gosh.
bats and cats thing is so extremely funny to me because, like, they do that thing I really love where most characters are super on board with a really cringy name, and there's a couple characters who are just like, I'm begging you to stop doing that.
Darius in particular.
Darius! Oh, Darius.
Darius.
I just need someone else to be taking this seriously, and everyone around him is just going, hiss! This poor man.
Oh, no. Darius is the head of the Abominations Coven.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Also part of the rebellion. Also, also a lot.
Darius is like, he's somehow very, very dramatic, but also like, he somehow also gives off the vibes of like, I'm the only one who can wrangle these insane conspirators, and everyone else is being ridiculous except me.
Yes.
But also somehow at the same time, he's very over the top himself in a different way. It's kind of wild now that I think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're all over dramatic, just in their own different ways.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's very true. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, we have gone through a lot of characters.
Yes.
We need to get to King, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Another one of the, are you the main character or are you not the main character?
Yeah. It's unclear. King might have been my favorite character at the beginning of the show. I think that might be fair to say, honestly.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's got, like... I mean, like, you fall in love with him instantly because, like, he is just so cute and adorable and says the funniest things and pretends to be out for, like, world domination, but is actually just, like, taking care of stuffed animals. It's great.
Yeah. He has this little kingdom of different plushies and stuff, and he's just, like, giving them orders and, like, forming them into battalions and stuff.
It's great.
Oh, my goodness.
And he and Luce have the cutest sibling relationship.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's really sweet, and, like, they, you know, like, that's an overarching, like, important, like, theme is, like, their relationship.
Absolutely.
And of course, we find out in season 2 that King actually is a very powerful, world dominator type demon, because he is one of the thought to be extinct titans, which, this is wild, is literally what the Boiling Isles is made out of.
Oh man,
we're getting into weird territory here, where this is the trauma house. Listen,
anything goes in the trauma house.
Anything goes in the trauma house.
Right.
The Boiling Isles are a set of islands that, and this is not hidden from the very beginning, they are made out of a giant's body, a dead giant, basically, because you see a giant skull, you see, like,
well, they name the places.
The places are the knee and the toes and, like,
right.
You know, and
like,
so,
those are the names of the on the maps and everything. Yeah.
Right, because
bizarre, frankly.
This world has evolved out of the decaying corpse of a titan. And it just so happens that it's King's dad.
Right. Guys, I need to impress upon you how crazy that twist was, because through the show they hint a couple times of, like, are we going to find out what kind of demon King is or where he came from? Probably, maybe. And, like, we see a person that might be his dad, but they cut off the end of that episode in kind of a joke way, like, haha, we almost told you, but we're not going to tell you. And, like, they keep the mystery going for such a long time, and yet somehow the idea that he is the child of the dead land titan, like, never crosses your mind, or at least it didn't for me.
Not for me either.
Yeah. And, like, they do that thing where you learn a twist at the exact same time it is directly relevant in a bad way. Like, it's not just, oh, we're finding out that King is a Titan. It's, oh, we're finding out that King is a Titan in a place where that explicitly means he's going to be hunted down and killed. Which is just buck wild, because before that, we thought maybe he was finally finding his family or his clan or whatever, and we were going to finally get that catharsis. And it was like, nope, actually, he's in worse danger than before. And I'm like, oh, okay. Good luck, Alex Hirsch.
Yeah, poor Alex Hirsch. Yeah. And, like, this clan that kills Titans isn't even from the Boiling Isles. Like, it basically just, like, gives you so much more context for this entire world. Like, there are other corpses of Titans in other places where people live, and, like, it's wild.
It's still not the human world. It's like a different continent or something. It's like a different section of that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what word to use. World, I guess. Yeah. And we didn't even know that was a thing until now. Right.
But then on the Boiling Isles, you have Emperor Bellows, who has like built his entire like empire / cult around around the fact that he can commune with the Titan of the Boiling Isles, the one that they live on. And that
is like extremely is an extremely clear, like, this is someone who's claiming to be a prophet who could speak for God type thing. Like, it is not subtle.
Like, the Titan is like their god. And like when they find out that King is a Titan, Lilith, who has been deep in the Emperor's cult for a while, is the one who is like basically is trying to worship and do the bidding of King. And King is just like, I am just a normal kid, please stop.
I'm literally begging you to stop.
like, it's just...
She's like, of course, your magnificence. And he's just like, why are you like this?
Why are you like this? Because she was brainwashed at the cult.
Yeah. No, absolutely, yeah.
And I will get to all of the reasons why it's a cult later. But,
oh, yeah. No, it's 100%, like...
Yes. But King season 1 is just goofy and immature and silly and ridiculous, and then by the end of season 2 we've got a much more mature character who like is dealing with like who he even is and like where he came from and what that means for him and his future. And also, again, spoiler alert, like the great emotional crux of the final episode of season 2 is that he sacrifices himself to save the other kids.
Yeah.
So basically, context, the Collector is another big bad of the show who
I don't even know how we're going to talk about the Collector. I love this character, but I could not even begin to tell you where to begin. Like, I have no idea.
I mean, the Collector basically is creating the end of the world on the Boiling Isles. Like, that's the only thing I can say.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and all the Collector really wants to do is play with King specifically, because he's like, oh yeah, well, whatever. There is history there we don't know. And and so King basically uses his power.
his super yell, I don't know.
Yeah. To like push the rest of the kids through the portal so that they're safe, and then he's stuck on the other side with the Collector, causing Armageddon.
Yes, where like the world is maybe falling apart. It's not 100%. No, sorry, to be clear, it definitely is falling apart.
It's falling apart.
We just don't know to what extent.
Yeah.
Like how that resolves yet. It definitely is falling apart. That's extremely clear.
It's the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But like, I could never have imagined episodes like, you know, King and Steve on their road trip back in season 1 when you're watching King like order a whole bunch of stuffed animals around. Like, again, character development for everyone. It's so good.
There are scenes towards the end of season 2 where like someone will say something and it'll pan over to King and you can almost hear what he would have said in season 1. Some bizarre joke or something about how he's going to take over the world someday or something. You can almost hear it. But instead what he says is something like, are you guys actually going to be okay? And he's like so genuinely worried.
Oh no.
Because he's had an entire world's history's worth of danger and like identity and destiny and all this other stuff like thrown at him, and really no one can help him with that because he's probably the last person of his entire species. So he's like, he's not alone because he has people who love him and would do anything for him, but in some ways he feels extremely alone, and like that weighs on him so much to the point that it kind of changes his personality. Like, it is character development, but it's also incredibly sad.
It's so sad.
Yeah. There's a shot of him, like, looking at... I think they're on the ship, maybe, and he's, like, looking at the islands, and you can kind of see how they almost resemble a person shaped, and he, like, just raises his hand and says, hey... And then he gets cut off from whatever else he was about to say. But even just the idea that he is in the headspace of, like, I'm going to try to talk to my dead planet father is, like, buck wild. And it's so interesting, like, how incredibly far this character has come.
And King, just like you mentioning, like season 1 King being so silly and ridiculous and selfish. And then in season 2... Yeah, where he says, like, I'm scared, or don't talk about it this way. Or, like, just these things.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, because we've seen him so silly and goofy, like, using him as this way of showing just how dire a situation is, where even King can't joke about it. Like...
Oh, man, it hurts.
Especially, like, when the kids in the final episodes are, like, heading to save Luce from Bellows, I really love that through it all, like, they keep putting King out of danger, like, and leaving him behind, sort of, but more as in a protective way of, like, we need to keep you safe. Like, he A, is the youngest of them, and also B, is the last of the Titans. But, like, more so because they care about him, and he's, like, basically an 8-year-old kid. And, like, seeing things from his point of view, and then, even seeing, like, they flash through all of these events at, you know, as they go to save Luce, and it's all from Luce's perspective. Like, the camera is literally, like,
from King's perspective.
From King's perspective, and, like, and then it's King who's, like, all he's doing the whole time is just he wants to help, but he keeps, like, he pushed aside, and then he's the one who releases the collector from the mirror, and then it's just, like, it's just a lot, okay? It's a lot for this little baby demon boy, and I am so scared.
It is, guys. So the final episode following King like that was such a brilliant move for like 5 different reasons. It was really, really good narratively because it gave them an extremely good opportunity to continue his thing of, like, why is King able to hear the collector sometimes? Why is King able to see that, like, in-between portal world where the collector is? And, like, continuing that through line through the episode to get him to the collector was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. But for character, it's also great because, just like you said, he wants to help, and he keeps having people be like, you need to stay here because I'm scared you're going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he's struggling with that, but he wants to be part of the team, and he wants to help his friends. And to have that coincide with the end of the episode, not even coincide, to have that directly impact the end of the episode. Guys, it is unclear if King saved the world or if he destroyed it. Like, we aren't sure yet.
That's a great way to put it.
We don't know, because the collector was the only one who could stop what we thought was the biggest threat of the entire season.
Which was genocide of the entire islands.
Like, the spell was absolutely going to kill most people. It was going to kill almost everyone who had sigils. And there were some people who didn't, but it was like a small group, right? And King stopped that by setting the collector free. But in, like, the last couple minutes, you suddenly realize what the collector is. And, like, at the same time as the other characters, you realize, oh no, this could be so much worse. Like...
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all gonna be on King's shoulders. Like,
Ooh,
I don't know how that's
point.
gonna go. I don't know how he's gonna be doing when we see him again. Like,
I mean, I was thinking about, like, oh, how King, is kind of trapped with this crazy godlike child.
right.
That's definitely going to mess him up. But also, no, the guilt of, like, whatever is happening, he's the one who caused it. That did not cross my mind, and now I am extra worried.
Right?
The trauma house, everybody.
The trauma house. Because, like, up until that point, everyone, including the people watching, were in complete agreement that King is doing the right thing. Like, he seems like the hero of the episode, and I think he still is. But, like, once you realize the unintended, like, what's going on with the Collector, you suddenly realize, like, we don't know anything, y'all. We do not know. Like, it's I can't say enough good things about the finale, but I feel like I should pull back so we can get back to characters, because
yes, we still got a few characters that we definitely need to talk about. I mean, there are so many, gosh.
Yeah.
But, like, listen, I want to talk about Amity, Willow, and Gus a lot, but also, like, we need to get to
there's no time.
Hunter and Velos, like, majorly.
Yeah. I feel like I could go through talking about Gus and Willow pretty quickly, because they're an extremely good example of side characters that do a really good job of getting development and having interesting storylines while still having a small presence on the show, because so much else is going on.
Right.
So, like, their stakes aren't crazy high. Like, Willow is trying to kind of befriend someone who used to bully her in Amity, and she's also trying to, like, improve herself as a person and make people see that she is strong just as who she is, not trying to imitate anyone else, not needing anyone else's protection. And that's awesome. Like, that's genuinely fun to watch, but it doesn't need an entire season-long arc, so we have room for everything else, right?
Right.
And I feel like it's kind of a similar thing with Gus, because he's kind of a worried, nervous kid. He's kind of anxious. He's got, like, some again, bully-related trauma that we see more in Season 2. But his storylines are a lot more lower stakes, of, like, how he finally gets friends and how he proves himself to a different group of bullies. There's a lot of bullies. It's a school. It's a whole thing. But they do... I feel like they do as good a job as they possibly could have for side characters to flesh out the cast, for Luce to have more friends and more people to influence and interact with, but not completely making the story too fractured and wild and all over the place, because they're pretty contained. That said, Gus and Willow end up being insanely powerful, which I think is hilarious. Like, there are moments where we cut back to them and it's like, oh, okay, we saw how their magic was growing a little bit, and now that some time has passed, they're, like, some of the strongest witches in the entire show, and it's so cool.
It's so fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. It's like, you thought Gus could do goofy little illusions. Turns out he can also, like, make you
relive your worst memories.
Yes, he can mess with people's heads, although he doesn't do it on purpose because he's a good boy. But, like, he can also put illusions over an entire city, which is terrifying to think about. And Willow has become, I'm trying to think of a good comparison. Like, there's got to be other characters I can think of who, like, have insane plant armies, who can, like, use the fury of nature to just absolutely wreck shop. And she's gotten so good at controlling it, like, slowly over time, that she's one of the most fun fighters to watch, purely because of the animation of, like, vines bursting up through the earth and, like, grabbing people and putting them out of commission. And, like, it's so fun. They're absolutely... They kick all kinds of butt. They're great.
Epic. Yes. And, like, they have such small screen time, but even then, like, Labyrinth Runners, which is Gus-centric, is one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, it's the best! Yeah!
And I love it. I love Gus. I love Willow. And you know what? Like, as you were discussing their arcs, like...
Yeah.
It made me realize, well, they are, even as side characters, emphasizing kind of an overarching theme of the entire show, which is, like, being weird and different and, getting hurt for it or getting separated from society for it, but ultimately finding your own, a found family mentality, right? And like, so they are being bullied in their own different ways, and they overcome it by coming together. And as Luce says in the first episode, us weirdos have to stick together.
Oh man, that's such a good point. Like, that theme is so clearly illustrated in the plot of the show, which is literally that, like, the people who are trying to use the people who are trying to learn about everything that magic is and every part of it and like how it works with the world are being, let's say, forcefully discouraged from that in favor of magic is very simple and it is clean and you have to pick one and that's all you get and that's how magic works and it is very compartmentalized and there shall be no overlap, please and thank you. And like, in a way, that is the perfect descriptor of the kids' personalities running into something like bullying or people trying to push down their potential or push it away in other directions, or like, you have to fit in these certain molds and if you don't, you're going to be mocked for it. So like, it's just like you said, that theme is what kind of brings them all together and what helps them relate to each other, what helps them help each other, especially with the later part of the season 2. Oh, gosh, they're such a good cast. They're such a good group of protagonists.
I love them all so much. They're my babies.
I feel like Amity. I feel like we could talk about Amity more because she has quite a bit more going on than those two.
Oh yeah, like she starts out as the typical like mean girl bully, except with a twist because she's actually the straight A student who is honestly just kind of a brown noser.
Yes, like. I love the idea of a character who is that kind of antagonistic force who's mean to a lot of our heroes, but is also like genuinely struggling under all of this pressure to be as good as possible and as smart as possible and successful as possible. Like, yes, that's already fun and interesting. I'm sold, like, from the get-go, and she only gets more development from there, which is just stellar.
And I love that, like, ultimately you kind of learn that, like, she has a lot of animosity towards Luce, but from her perspective, you realize, oh, well, she kind of has a little bit of reason to feel that way. Because from her perspective, Luce keeps, like, messing up everything and, like, breaking the rules and whatever. Like, I love the comparison between, like, Luce being, like, no rules all over the place, wild, crazy, and Amity is the type A, I am following the rules, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And ultimately, they both influence each other a lot in those ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really love Amity, and like, I love... second best scene in the whole show is her and Hunter's fight scene.
Oh my gosh.
In Eclipse Lake. Just throwing that out there.
Amity is so good at fighting, you don't even know. Like, it's so cool to watch. Both in how she uses the abominations and stuff, because that's her family's whole deal, but also just in how she thinks about what to do next and how she tries to, like, counter stuff. And again, the fight scenes, she doesn't get a ton, but she does get more towards season 2. The fight scenes that she's in are so cool. And like, oh my gosh. I really like what you said about the difference between her and Luce, because like I get the feeling that she is so frustrated with Luce and intimidated by her because she feels like Luce is this like wrecking ball that is bringing down everything she has worked so hard to build up perfectly, that can't have any mistakes, and it can't have any, like, there's no room for not trying your absolute best all the time. And Luce foiling that and like crashing into that is like, it's the thing that makes her think like, have I been wrong about everything? Because that's a scary thought of like, if all of this work I put in was not towards the goal I thought it was, does that mean I've wasted my time? Does that mean who I am as a person is devalued? So she's like genuinely freaked out by this, and the way that comes out is being mean and like being, at least for the beginning of season 1, it's like, I don't know how to deal with this, so I'm gonna assume you're kind of my enemy, like in a weird academic way.
Yes. Yes.
And again, that is already interesting, and it only gets better from there as things change. Because, and I don't know if you already knew this, you probably did, just because the internet is the internet, and we have been cagey about not mentioning it yet. Y'all, they end up together, and it's so amazing.
Yes.
Even if this wasn't an absolutely stellar, like, example of a animated show where teenagers are allowed to have relationships with teenagers that aren't this perfect heterosexual thing, even if it wasn't that, it would be two absolutely fascinating characters to bounce off each other in, like, getting to know each other better, not becoming enemies anymore, realizing they have feelings for each other, how to work through that. What is we're dating now actually mean? How does that work? How does that work when we have all this other stuff going on? Like, that would already be interesting, even if it wasn't this incredible, fantastic, groundbreaking couple. But they are on top of that.
Yes.
And, like, I was so blown away by how good their story is, especially once their stories come together. Like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness, guys. They are so great. And, like... And they stay dorks the entire time.
They are both nerds, and it's so good. You know what it is? As you were talking, I've made this connection in my head. They are the anime rivals that every shonen anime has, except they finally had the guts to actually make them a couple.
They actually did it. It's not just a fan thing. Yeah. For once. Yeah.
For once, the anime rivals.
Oh my gosh.
Bakugo and Deku can be together.
Right. They clearly have, like, all of this chemistry, and we're just too much of a coward to admit it. But this time they actually did it. It's like, oh, I can't believe it. Yeah. There will be no debate on which ships are there. There will be no debate about who the best couple is, because it's already there. We did it. We're done. Everyone can go home.
Everyone go home. And I love that it's also just like a healthy relationship where they communicate with each other. And sure, they're awkward and weird and they don't quite know what they're doing because they're young and haven't been in relationships, but like ultimately there isn't the drama of like, should I break into Luz's phone to see what she's worried about, or like, should I keep this a secret and blah blah. No, it's like they just communicate and they're like, hey, I know something's wrong. You know, it's just like, it's so good. Yeah. It's so good.
The phone thing is a great example because, like, technically on paper, the best, healthiest thing you should probably do is, like, talk to your partner about it, right? But they give you such an understandable reason for why she's afraid to do that. So she doesn't open the video. She doesn't go through her phone. She immediately goes to one of her closest friends and says, like, this is what I'm freaking out about, and I don't want to hurt my girlfriend. What do I do? And, like, that's such a good response. Like, again, it might not be on paper the perfect response, but it is so much better than this show could have gone for like cheap drama. And there's one, actually it might be the same episode. There's like one thing I can think of that Luce does not tell Amity, and she's keeping it from her, and she's hiding it, and like when you finally find out what it is, it's something intensely, incredibly personal about her family. And like, oh, that actually makes sense that a teenager would have a hard time communicating that to someone they've been dating for a short time, because that's really, really difficult. Like, they do such a good job of making the tension and the difficulties they're going through not only make sense, but also be something that they can work through together, and it isn't just a very cheap, very easy, very stereotypical, like, oh, you didn't tell me this thing, but I misunderstood it and I thought it was this thing. It is so much better than that. To the point when Luce finally admitted what it was, I actually felt bad for assuming anything. Like,
yes,
it's brutal, man. Like, they do such a good job of, part of it is by necessity because they're in danger so much, but they do such a good job of, like, these two kids are learning so much about each other and so much about each other's most personal secrets, and like how they work through with that and help each other is genuinely a joy to watch. Like, it's so positive and it's so good without being like it's not that they never make mistakes. That's what I'm trying to get at here. It's such a good representation of a relationship that does have some mistakes in it, but they're still there for each other all the time, 100%, and it's really wonderful.
Yeah, they're communicating about their mistakes.
Thank you. Yes.
And that's what it is to be in a relationship and learn about someone else and figure it out, Because mistakes happen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And also, just all of the goofy stuff is fantastic. Of them trying to deal with the fact that they like each other, but they don't know how to say it or what to do about it.
Gold
is
absolute
so funny.
Gold.
Oh my gosh! Whoever decided that Amity should have 2 older siblings who essentially do nothing but roast her all the time, I want to shake their hand because they're my hero. That was gold.
Fantastic.
but in a very supportive way, of course. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Listen, the last thing I have to say about Lumity is you know how we're talking about all of those awesome fight scenes and how the Sakuga is turned up a notch, the animation gets epic. They saved a whole bunch of animation budget. They got that money out from under the mattress and were like, hey, instead of a fight this episode, we want the best, most beautiful, smoothest kiss of all cartoon time. And then Luce says, crikey.
Crikey. I think I paused it. I got to the kiss and I was sending you a bunch of reactions and I paused it and I was like, oh my gosh, they actually did the kiss and it was animated super well. This is so great. And I hit play and immediately I got crikey. I just I lost my mind. I was crying. I was laughing so hard.
Oh, Luce. Never changed, Luce.
Oh, and Luce goes into a minute-long panic about how she just said the most uncool thing in the world after kissing her crush. That was just perfect. Oh my gosh.
Epic.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. I think it's time.
It's time?
I think it's time. Listen, there's listen.
Oh boy.
There's one character we really need to talk about.
We cannot avoid it.
And it's kind of my favorite character, and
right? Yes.
Here's what I gotta say.
Oh, yeah.
Flapjack is the most important character in this entire show.
Oh, okay. The misdirect. Oh my goodness. Wow.
No, I'm kidding. I'm talking about Hunter, but
I tip my hat to you. That was funny. No, that was fantastic. Yeah.
We love Flapjack, but
Flapjack is great. Yeah.
But yes, Hunter is our favorite character. I think I can say that pretty.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Of course. Hunter, you are referring to my favorite character, Caleb Jasper Blood Williams.
All right, so Jamie and I are just most of the rest of this fandom, and we are absolutely head over heels obsessed with this blonde idiot.
Oh my god. Okay, so okay. So season 2 rolls around. And we're following Luce and her friends on their fun adventures, because this is before things have gotten really bleak. And they introduce, let's call him a secondary antagonist. They introduce this character called the Golden Guard. And he's pretty goofy. He's pretty funny. He's a villain.
Sassy and fantastic.
He's very sassy, yeah. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. His episodes are great. But, at the time, I'm oh, okay, this is a fun idea. They're throwing in someone who can be a little more personable and a little more bantery than our other villains. So this is fun. This is very, Spider-Man enemy, I'm on board with this. The episodes continue, And then suddenly you learn more about this person. And then suddenly you see this person without their mask. And then suddenly you get more of this person's backstory. And all of a sudden you realize, oh my lord, they're doing a Zuko. And they are just throwing in a Zuko. And they're like, oh, what could go wrong? We're just going to do a Zuko. And you know what makes me even more upset is that they were right. And they did it extremely well. And he might be the best character.
Yes, basically, yes. Hunter is the Zuko of this universe.
Oh, man. He's only in 7 episodes. He's only in a third of the season. But he has taken over this fandom like I don't even know what to compare him to. It's actually insane how popular he is.
He has dominated the fandom.
Yes.
He has dominated, I think, the crew, honestly.
Yeah.
The fact that he truly, again, this is another side character who could be argued to be a main character.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
absolutely,
they really brought him into the forefront in the last half of the last season. And, like, Hunter, I think a reason why so many people like him is that everyone can just kind of, and I am included in the statement, like, we can just attach our traumas to him.
Yes. Right?
And be like, I get it, dude.
That absolutely is the reason, though.
He's the vessel for some trauma deconstruction. But
everyone else is the trauma house. He's the trauma castle. Yeah.
Yes, he is. And like, okay, Hunter is one. He has been adopted into my group of animated adoptive cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Like, if you've listened to any of my many Tangled the Series episodes, he is the Varian of this universe.
Ooh, okay.
But here's where they're super different, okay? Here's what. Because Varian is also a side character who turns into a main character who the entire fandom becomes super obsessed with, right? Like, they have very similar vibes. But here's the difference, right? Varian is presented to the audience as a sweet, precious baby cinnamon roll who you find out will absolutely murder everybody. Whereas Hunter is this super edgy bad boy who just happens to be a secret, precious cinnamon roll. Precious, fragile little bird boy.
He's the reverse.
But yeah, Hunter, like, listen, the Golden Guard and Hunter are two different characters, even though they're the same person. Yeah. Because, like, under the guise of the Golden Guard, behind his mask, and with the confidence he has from believing all of the lies from Belos, he becomes this persona, which is the Golden Guard, who I honestly miss a little bit.
I get that. Yeah.
Who is super sassy and super just like, I mean, he was a great side antagonist, okay?
Yeah.
And I miss him a little bit. But then, yeah, as you said, Luce, her Steven Universe-ness, trying to make friends with everyone, tears away a little bit at Hunter's facade, and he's, he expresses more about himself. You learn more about him and his relationship with Belos, who is his uncle.
Oh boy.
And then you realize, oh no, he's got daddy issues.
Right.
And he is one of the many characters out there who just wants to make him proud.
Oh my gosh.
To his own detriment.
Yeah. It's real bad, guys. I made the mistake, and it was a great video, but it was a mistake, of watching one of those videos of, like, here are all the moments in the Owl House, including the really subtle ones, pointing towards Hunter having, like, trauma responses whenever Belos does anything. And it was so depressing to watch, but also they were spot on, because, like, you look at every scene where he interacts with Belos in such a new light. After you learn certain things in season 2, but also in the lens of, like, oh, he's not just a bad guy working for the other bad guy. He's terrified I'm gonna say all the time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure all the time.
All the time.
It's
yes.
It's real bad. Yeah,
not good.
Hunter, more than anyone else, is like very, very, very mentally trapped in some odd ways. Partially because of Bellows, and partially because of like parts of his own personality that are directly because of Bellows, right? And it's just absolutely fascinating to look into and to learn more about in season 2. Whew. And it makes perfect sense why people are drawn to him, because like
yes, everyone loves this character. And because you're taken, the audience is taken on this journey with him, right? Of slowly demasking him, like literally and figuratively. And like you find out that Bellows is physically, verbally, emotionally abusing him. And then to go back to the cult idea of like a signature part of Hunter's character design is his eye bags.
Indicating literally that all the time,
indicating that he's just tired all the time. And like that's another like indicator of like harmful cults, is when like they will legitimately not let people sleep very much and not let people eat very much, because then they're in a constant state of just survival, and they can't reason and like use their logic to understand what's being told of them. Also, another part of cults, and why do I know so much about cults? Maybe I listen to too much like a true crime podcast. But like it's the leader is either, you know, a spokesperson for God or is God. And that's Bellows to a T, right?
Oh,
and then
100%.
And then it's the like just emotional manipulation. Like Bellows is a very charismatic leader and manipulates everyone, and we'll get to him after this. But like so Hunter is being brought up in this environment. Like he literally, like in one episode when he goes to like try to recruit other students, he legitimately says like he hasn't had any other interaction with people his own age.
Yes. No, absolutely. And like in that same scene, there's a joke line where he says like, hey, you guys should join the Emperor's Coven. I hear they let you sleep until 6 a.m. And like that actually works perfectly with what you were just saying about like,
yes.
Oh, okay, so this teenager has never had a decent night's sleep in his life. Like,
yes, he hasn't. This poor boy.
Yeah, and he doesn't know how friends work. He doesn't know how teenagers work, for sure. So putting him in that school environment is, one, extremely funny, but two, incredibly sad.
So sad. It's like, yes, the more, like, he will say things and the other kids are like, what? Like, what are you talking? Are you okay? Because, yeah, he just doesn't understand. I mean, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, too, talking about other trauma situations, but you don't know that you're in a trauma situation usually until you're out of it.
Right.
And so, like, to him, he's talking about this stuff like it's totally normal, and everyone around him is like, this is not normal.
Oh, my gosh, right? All the stuff about the training and, like, what it was like being a part of the Emperor's Coven, and, like, how he had to do duels when he was a child, and like there was something about everybody being left on a mountain to see who would survive. Like, and he like this is part of the joke. They do lampshade this, but he's talking about it as if he's saying like, oh, good times, and like it's extremely funny. But again, like giving you that insight of like this is what Hunter thinks is normal does so much for helping you understand what has gone on with him and what makes him the way he is.
Yes. Just like his entire abusive upbringing, and yet he clings so much to what the Emperor has told him because it's all he's ever known. And deep down, he's really just like a complete nerd. He like has done all this research and all this stuff, like
he has just things like he's excited about.
Yeah, he spouts off all this random knowledge about wild magic and stuff, which is bad. He's not supposed to learn about wild magic because it's bad. But like he knows that Bellows is cursed and is trying to help him, etc., etc.
I think the scariest line in the show is when he says something to Bellows about what he's been researching or something that he was thinking about recently or some idea he had, and Bellows like does this crazy physically threatening thing where like something launches past him like right next to his head, right? And Hunter loses every trace of expression in his face and very quietly says, "I apologize. I spoke out of turn. It won't happen again." And that is horrifying because they have instantly made you think like, okay, what has happened in the past that he was so ready to say that at a moment's notice, you know?
Oh, yeah. Like, this has happened before.
That is probably the clearest example of like, oh, okay, now I see what's been going on with him, honestly.
And like, he has a scar on his face. His ear has that notch. Like, he has like physical signs of some issues that either came from Bellows or came from the mistreatment of the entire Emperor's Coven, you know? Like, and so of course, like, us as an audience, and also Luce herself, like, ends up really, really caring for this character.
Yeah.
You know? And like, honestly, that's one of my favorite things about the show too, is Luce and Hunter's relationship, because they're like the perfect sibling dynamic of like, we are going to pick on each other to the ends of the earth, but also die for each other.
The episode where she actually like learns his name and you first see him without his mask and stuff, it in some ways it ends up being an extremely bizarre Luce and Hunter road trip, because like at the beginning of the episode they are enemies, but through everything that happens in the middle of the episode, instead of arguing or hurting each other or threatening each other like enemies and opposing forces, they are fighting, but it is 100% like siblings. Like, yes. They're doing like the headlock thing, and Luce trying to like cover his mouth at one point when he says something, and she's like, "Did you just lick my hand?" And he's just like, "Maybe." And like,
yes,
and it's so funny.
It's so good.
But they are also cognizant enough to know that if it stayed that way, it would seem way too fast and unbelievable. And at the end of the episode, the other shoe drops when Hunter's like, "No, I actually am for real betraying you." And like, they have that conflict again, and everything is not as goofy, happy-go-lucky, and friendly as we hoped it would be. And things actually take a lot longer for him to change as a person. Which I was really happy with. I was surprised by it, but I really like that decision.
I do too, because like, it takes a lot for him to, again, finally break. Like, we're breaking all these characters, and it takes Hollow Mind to.
Yes.
Let's talk about Hollow Mind.
Hollow Mind. Hunter is like the best example of the terms like deprogramming, I think, because there is so much brainwashing that he doesn't know is brainwashing that he has to get through, and nowhere is it on better display than this episode, because like I love how they just jump right into it, and the cold open is Luce being like, "Where are we?" and Hunter being like, "You got us trapped in the Emperor's mind," and they're just mad about it, and then you cut to the title card, and then we explain how on earth did we get here. yes. But Hollow Mind is all about Luce has been trying to figure out for a while, how can I stop what Bellows is doing, and also how can I convince other people of what is going on, because Bellows is he's the leader, but he's also like a celebrity. Everyone loves him. Everyone is so on board with the Empire. And she's like, I don't know the details of what he's going to do, and I also don't know how to communicate that to people. So the episode on its surface is her learning those things. But at the same time, they are doing an intense character study on Hunter, because as they're in the Emperor's mind, they go through the first layer, which is his mythos. It is everything he tells people. It is everything he's built up over, I think they say like 50 years or something.
Bellows has been the Emperor for 50 years.
Yeah. They are like, they go deep into like everything he has told people and everything he has created in this image of himself and this image of the Boiling Isles and what the Titan is and what magic is. And then they keep going, and Luce immediately realizes that wasn't real. Like, we're getting towards what he really thinks and feels now. Ergo, we're getting towards what is really going on, because Bellows is kind of the only one who actually knows what's going on with the world, unfortunately. So they learn more and more about that, but it gets harder and harder for Hunter to justify what he's seeing. And bit by bit, he has to either accept, like, I was wrong about this, or find some way of putting up walls of, like, no, this must not be right. I must be misunderstanding something.
He spends the whole episode trying to convince himself that what he's seen isn't what he's seen.
Yeah, every single time Luce is like, you have to admit now that da-da-da-da-da, and he's just like, no, I don't, because it's probably just something is wrong with the mindscape, or he was just doing that for some other reason, and he's like getting more and more agitated and freaked out until we get to what I think is one of the best moments they've ever written, where Bellows says directly out loud to, in this case, the Collector, but he says out loud, all I have to do is tell him, oh, the Titan has big plans for you, and he does exactly what he's told. And there are some other lines going into more detail about, like, how he's been using Hunter and how he's effectively betrayed him and everything Hunter believed in was for nothing. But I think that line is the worst of it, because it is Bellows straight up saying, like, everything I've told him was just for power. It was just for getting him to move like a chess piece. And what absolutely kills me is that they turned the camera to Hunter and Luce, but Hunter's face is not in frame. So you do not see what he looks like when he's hearing this, and they just cut to the next scene. And I'm so angry about that, because more than anything, I want to know what his expression is during this moment, but also I get it, because not knowing is so much stronger than anything they could have animated in this moment, I think.
Oh yeah, and then it leads into Hunter finding this hallway full of broken Golden Guard helmets. So here's the thing. Hunter this whole time has believed that his family is a family without magic. They don't, it's a struggle for him in that way. He doesn't have his own magic, just like Luce, and has to use artificial magic, etc., etc. And his wild magic harmed his family, and Uncle Bellows took me in, and blah 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 blah.
Right, and defended me from wild magic. Yeah.
Yes, and so of course, yes, Hunter, really takes what Bellows says to heart, and like, oh yes, Bellows has, Titan has big plans for me, etc., etc. This is his whole reason for, like, doing anything, and then to hear that is absolutely false and manipulative, but then
I thought the twist was over then. I thought the rest was going to be about them trying to get out. Right, I didn't expect more.
Because at this point, we've already seen proof that Bellows is legitimately trying to kill people and has murdered people and is lying to people and is lying to Hunter specifically. And then you get the other surprise twist that Bellows has been... There are all these other Golden Guard helmets out there that are broken and shattered, and it's like Bellows has been killing the other Golden Guards. And also, wait a minute, Bellows shows up and is like, Hunter is a Grimwalker. Which AKA is a clone of a dead person.
It's absolutely insane. Like, they've given you such a tiny bit of foreshadowing, enough to make you wonder about these plot points, but not nearly enough to let you figure it out. Because they said, what did they say? They said there was one previous Golden Guard, and Darius knew him, and for some reason it didn't end well. That's all we knew. So I don't think anyone, I could be wrong, but I don't think anyone was expecting there is an entire hallway full of shattered Golden Guard uniforms representing how dozens and dozens of them have been created.
They're all clones.
All clones
that then get murdered.
That then get killed. When Bellows is like, "Oh, it's always disappointing when they choose to betray me," and I'm just like, "Oh, okay." That's how you're gonna frame it? Okay, I guess. That's a lot, I guess. And Hunter realizes that at the same time as the audience, which sucks. It is so hard to watch.
Hollow Mind is just genius, and it is the turning point of the entire show. Like, literally nothing is ever the same after Hollow Mind.
I would absolutely agree with that.
Because I will say, like, from a fandom standpoint, before Hollow Mind, there were still people who were defending Bellows, and there were still people who, and granted, there were a lot of people who were, convinced that Hunter was a Grimwalker, et cetera, but like there was still some
How could people have already figured that out? I thought it was like a brand new term.
Grimwalker is seen in Philip's diary, in one of Philip's books. What? Yeah, there's this whole thing about Grimwalkers, and on the Grimwalker page, there's like very specific illustrations of these like red magenta eyes, and Hunter is the only character in the whole series who has red magenta eyes.
No, oh my lord!
And so people did figure out that yes, Hunter is a Grimwalker.
Whoa!
From that clue.
Oh man, okay. I did not know about. Okay. Okay. Oh, this is some Pink Diamond business. This is like.
It is.
I had no idea people were figuring this stuff out.
Oh yeah. Which is why it's so fantastic to like hear your perspective on things when you're not super deep in the fan base, and I am.
Yeah, I probably should have said this earlier. I watched this part of season 2 much later than a lot of people, because I watched season 1 when it was coming out, but that was a couple years ago. So like I watched the first part of season 2 I don't know, last year. And then like when all the new episodes came out in the spring, or maybe even a little bit before that, I just hadn't gotten around to it for quite a while. So I was getting through these new episodes like a few weeks ago, y'all. So like I was not on the train back in March and April when things were absolutely going crazy. This is all very new for me. So that's why I'm coming at this from such a different angle than Kelly. Because I am extremely late to the party, as it were.
That's okay. So we have Hunter, whose whole belief system has been absolutely dismantled.
It's his entire identity. Like
his entire identity, everything who he thought he was. He was so proud of being the Golden Guard. He was like proud of working for Bellows and wanting to make his uncle proud. And then on top of that, he isn't even a witch. He isn't even human. What is he? He's some sort of monster. Like he has lost everything he's ever held dear, basically. And that's not the end of the episode.
No. Oh,
because
Lord.
we have to find out that this human that Luce has been chasing, that turned out to be pretty much kind of a jerk, this Philip Whittabane is actually Bellows himself.
There it is.
And so not only does Hunter learn that he's been manipulated his entire life, Luce gets to confront her own naivete again, because Philip is Bellows. Bellows is Philip.
Right. And it's worth mentioning there was a whole, there was a time travel episode at one point, and it was important, but for now, the particularly important thing is that in the past, Luce actually did help Philip because she thought she was, one, being kind to someone, and two, advancing her own goals for figuring out all this portal business. She was like, oh, if I can meet him, if I can talk to him, I can figure more stuff out. So he 100% took advantage of how naive she was and, used her help to get where he was going and essentially left her and Lilith for dead at one point. It's a whole thing. But, so after that, they're like, man, forget about Philip. I really hate that guy. So for her to have Bellows in front of her and be like, hey, by the way, thank you for directly helping me get to the position where I am, where I'm terrorizing everyone and I'm king of the world. And so she has to deal with that at the same time and also try to fight him enough to be able to escape. Which would already be a tall order because he's insanely powerful, but she's also trying to do that while she's reeling from this whole mental thing she's going through. Yeah,
exactly. So they're both absolutely torn down, broken to bits, traumatized. And then this is a part that I really, really love, and it's such a simple thing, but Hunter is at his lowest point. He's been sucked into the depths of the mindscape. He has lost everything. Right,
where they told us that if that happens, you will probably never come back out. You essentially die. Yeah.
Yeah. And yet And yet, whatever it is inside of him finds the will to keep fighting. And whether that, honestly, in my interpretation, I feel like it's because Luce is still there.
Oh, 100%.
And that's why he uses her glyphs to basically save them. And that, like, otherwise I feel like he would have absolutely fallen into despair and just died right there and just been, okay, I have been sucked into the depths of this mindscape and never to return. But it's like, oh, Luce is still there and there's still someone to fight for. And because of they've had this, you know, relationship over several other episodes, that, like, he is like, I'm not giving up yet. And I just, like, love that so much.
It's so good. The symbolism of him coming back specifically with Luce's spells is just so good.
Because he's embracing wild magic.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
You know, the thing that's been
thing.
Like, you know, absolutely treasonous.
Right. And he doesn't have the mask or the Golden Guard staff. He just has, like, loose papers.
Yes.
He's using them to come back. Like, what's fun about what I really like about that is, even though we don't get any perspective of him when he's stuck, when he's fallen and been pulled down into the subconscious, like, we don't get any shots of him, we don't get any of his thoughts, so we're kind of left to wonder what went down in between those two moments. And I think what he would have been thinking about, or would have been realizing, is probably what Amity said back at Eclipse Lake when she said, like, I know how hard it is for... I wish I could remember the exact beginning of that line.
Oh, I think I have it. Wait.
I know how she ends it, which is the really stellar part, in my opinion, because she tries to get through to him a lot in that scene before they start fighting.
Amity says, I grew up thinking everything was an opportunity to justify existing, but there are people out there who won't make you feel worthless. You just have to let yourself meet them.
I'm pretty convinced that there are people out there who won't make you feel worthless could be, like, the summation of the entire show.
Oh, yes, I love that.
It's another extremely good example of how wonderful of a character Luce is. Because even when she's not in the scene, it's like I said, it's a callback, baby. We're doing callbacks in this Fanimated episode. Luce impacts people even when she's not in the episode. It's so good. Yes. And now we have these messages and these ideas that she is spreading to help other people, going over to other people who, at this point, have barely interacted with her. And, like, I genuinely think that message is so important, because directly after Hunter hears that is when he accepts Flapjack. So, like, from Eclipse Lake onward, I feel like things really do at least start to change for him. Obviously, like we were saying, things don't really go absolutely crazy until this one, Hollow Mind. But I truly, truly think that line stuck with him enough that it would have made a difference here. That's kind of a personal theory, though. We don't have, like, a repetition of that line or anything like that. But that's what I like to think.
But yeah, and, like, even, you know, you see after that, too, when he joins the Emerald Entrails, the Flyer Derby team.
Oh, man. Yeah.
He also has a moment in that episode where Steve is like, I'm beginning to regret my life choices. And Hunter says, I think Hunter is, too. Like, he's starting to, you know, rebel against his upbringing and fight for the people that truly are supporting him, and not this facade, you know, of the Coven system and his uncle. Yeah,
that episode with the team especially is so great, because it's just like you were saying, it's the difference between people he is desperately trying to please and yet it never works, and people who immediately treat him like a person even though he hasn't technically done something for them, you know? And it really truly feels like the more he interacts with people like that, the more he is around people who don't make him feel worthless, the more things start to change.
And even in that episode, like, he says to Willow, like, well, where I come from, even chances have to be earned.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, well, they're going to give you so many chances. And, you know, whether you're, you know, whether you earn them or not, like, that's what normal human relationship is.
It's him learning how to be a human person.
Which person, actually?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess we misspoke.
That whole scene happens where he is pulled down into the mind, but he's able to come back, save Luce, but it also genuinely feels like they both get turns to save each other, because by the end she's like the one pulling him forward. And there's that horrible moment where he and Bellows just look at each other, and then they both crash to a halt, and they find the plot thing that's going to help them get out of the mind. they build it up. It's not like it's silly, but they're able to get out, and like, oh boy, what is the word I'm looking for? The representation of getting out of a horrific situation, having a couple moments where you try to process it, and then going into a panic attack is one of the most stark and brutal things I think I've ever seen. And it's in a cute cartoon Disney show with bright colors and demons. Like, it is.
Yes!
It is shocking how good it is. And they don't let up. They don't even, like, give you a joke or something to end on. They're just like, no, that's the end of the episode.
That's the end. It's heartbreaking and so well done. Like, the panic attack is one of my favorite parts of this.
Sucks, right?
This show. Like,
yes, it makes me feel like a bad person for saying this is like one of the most interesting scenes.
But yes, he's just, I mean, you know, you're in fight or flight response mode and you're just trying to survive, and then they finally get out, and, you know, and it all comes crashing down on him, and he can't believe who he was and what he helped do, and he just can't come to terms with it, and it's so fascinating and interesting, and that's why both of us have written fanfics about this moment.
Yeah.
Because we need to psychoanalyze every single moment of
this. It's so killer, yeah.
This episode is wild. And so, of course, Hunter goes on the lam and eventually runs into Gus, and Gus helps him out of his issues. By the way, Gus and Hunter being best friends is also my favorite thing.
Right? It's so incredibly wholesome. It heals.
Good.
It heals so much of the pain from earlier episodes.
It does. They're so good.
Hunter's 16-year-old logic of, I don't know where to go, so I'm going to go to the magic school and live in the closet, is so extremely funny to me. But at the same time, it is also the saddest thing in the world. And it's just like, I'm going to find a way to make this work. This will probably be okay. Because I do genuinely totally get why he felt like he couldn't stay at the Owl House, because there are so many reasons with like how he was brought up that he would think that is not a safe place, and also that Luce and Ida are not safe people that he can trust. But at the same time, oh man, you have a bunch of boxes of cereal, and you have like a homemade cape, and you're just living in the, I want to say the auditor, like,
yes, the auditorium.
It's like the theater room closet, like, and it just kills me. And Gus doesn't know how to react to that, so he's just like, here's some actual food if you want.
Yes, poor Hunter.
Oh man, and Hunter uses that as like the excuse for why he is. He immediately goes like, I would die for you mode, and when Gus is like, why, he's like, oh, because you gave me a sandwich, and it was a really good sandwich.
Yes.
like he doesn't want to admit that he's latching onto this person because they've shown him genuine kindness. He's just like, no, it was the food, actually.
It's so sweet. And then of course they eventually, tear down their facades a little bit, and Gus teaches Hunter a calming breathing exercise to help with his anxiety.
Oh my gosh, that was so... And, like, he's able to help him with that again at the end of the episode. Like, Hunter tries to help him in the same way. But, like, he doesn't super remember how it works, and that makes Gus laugh to the point that actually helps him break out of it, and it's so dumb, and it's so cute.
And I love that moment, me too, because it's just the little small detail of, like, Hunter is whistling as he blows out because his tooth gap.
Oh, I never considered that. Oh, that's exactly it. Oh man,
It's sweet. Anyways, we love our sad little trauma boy.
Yeah, they really pile it on. Like, even with all the stuff we were talking about that episode, we didn't even get to the other thing that suddenly crashes into him, which is realizing, oh, Bellows knows I was in there. Like, Bellows knows everything, and that's why I can't go back, because he might kill me. Like, that on top of everything else he just realized is impossible to the point of, like, mind-breaking. Like,
yeah, it truly boggles my mind, and, like, that of all these things, horrible things in his life has been torn apart, and also now he's, like, afraid of being murdered by the most powerful man on the Boiling Isles, and yet he still, like, is trying. Like, you know, he still finds some reason to keep going and then eventually help other people, and I'm just like, Hunter, you are amazing.
Yeah, he still somehow ends up being proactive in the following episode, where he doesn't save the day, but he helps save the day when everything is going down at the school. And like,
he's the one who gets through to Gus and calms him down.
That's true. That actually is pretty vital now that I think about it. He's
very vital.
That very much is saving the day now that I think about it.
What did I say? Labyrinth Runners is one of my favorite episodes. So.
Oh, it's so good. Guys, there's an illusionist villain who uses illusion magic, but he's constantly talking like he's a director, and it's so funny. It's so stupid. I absolutely love it. And, like, in all of that, the kids are trying to stage a school rebellion, and it's the goofiest plot, but I absolutely adore it.
It's so good.
I almost want to take this opportunity to transition to talking about how the shortened, rushed pace of the show is such a shame, because Hunter's whole deal, he does get a ton of screen time and screen development, but I also would understand where people are coming from if they feel like this came on the scene so quickly and overshadowed other stuff going on, and I really truly feel like that is also a casualty of what was essentially commanded to this show writing team of, like, well, you probably know more about it than I do, honestly, of how the production went.
I mean, just that Disney's decided for, interpret it at your own risk, that the Owl House no longer fit into whatever, like, Disney Channel aesthetic they were going for, basically, like, and canceled it early, and basically, we're like, okay, you're gonna get the rest of season 2 and then a shortened season 3, which is just 3 special episodes, special 40-minute episodes. So yeah, like, Dana Terrace and the team had, like, a lot of other ideas they wanted to flesh out, and some of which they've already shared, and then they weren't able to explore as much as they wanted to. And even though, again, like, this is one of the most viewed shows on Disney Channel, it is, like, one of the most viewed shows of cartoons airing at all, period. And yet Disney Channel decided to cancel it prematurely. So Dana, I've read this, and I don't know which interview this is from, but she at one point was saying how she really wanted to just, she's obviously devastated, and she's fought for a lot of things for this show. And, like, she wanted to build up the final episodes to a horrible, horrible, cruel hit cliffhanger just to spite Disney. But then she was convinced that she wanted to do something as good as she can for the fans, and, like, really, really make the ending work. And so because of that, like, I just have a lot of faith in them that they're gonna, like, with the time they've already shown that they've given, and with the time they have left, they'll actually be able to end it satisfactorily. But, like, but yes, there are a lot more. I mean, obviously with any show this is true, but especially with this one, there's a lot of stuff that's been left on the cutting room floor, which is a huge shame.
There are so many moments where you you can almost sense how much more of the world they wanted to do, and like how much more time they wanted to give, how much more filler even, but like good filler, you know, where we get to learn more stuff, or these other characters get to have more stories, and you can almost feel how that's been like taken away. And you can especially hear it when they directly reference it when they're getting ready for the big finale. And Ida's like, what, do you really want to spend your like last chill day doing something dangerous? Wouldn't you rather have like a beach day or something? And Luce's like, yeah, maybe if we had time for 20 more adventures, but we don't. So
yeah, a direct attack on Disney.
Yeah, that's as close as they could get to like having Hootie look at the screen and be like, Disney, this is your fault.
Yeah, seriously.
Like it's like the only real flaw of this show, I feel like, and it is 100% something that was out of their control.
Yeah.
It's like, it is such an incredible shame that one of the greatest stories they've ever had on their platform, on in my opinion, on Disney Plus, is they are just cutting the legs out from under it just because they thought it's bad for business, when like clearly people love it. It's this is like the HBO Max thing all over again. My goodness.
Truly, it just makes me so angry about the animation industry as a whole, but I won't go down that rant at this time. Like, I just think creators need to be able to have a lot of more creative freedom, but like, I have faith in the crew that the ending will be satisfactory, and I have faith too that a lot of these creators, including Dana Terrace, will go on to make other really great stuff too.
That's a super good point for sure to keep in mind.
And just like with any fandom, okay, like you can, you know, never stop loving this show and creating things for yourself, and you know, write that fanfic, draw that fan art, and like create the things that they weren't able to create, because like I don't know, just like, this is getting weird and philosophical, but like
no, go for it.
Art in all of history, right, is like just fan art of other art. So like every fanfic or whatever that is out there, like every headcanon, every like theory and whatever, like those things can also be just as true as the canon, like whatever you're enjoying about it, you know. And like, so, you know, it's not, the story won't completely die, and
absolutely, yeah.
Obviously we wish that there was more of it, and also, yeah, like remember that like it wasn't the team's fault, and so don't be too upset when there are still mysteries left unsolved and threads left untied, because that's just going to be a fact, that they're not going to be able to, like, you know, get everything perfect. But yeah, like, here we are, nearing the end already, and it's just wild. So we've talked, okay, listen, I still want to talk about season 3. Excellent. And I want to get into some season 3 stuff, but I also, and I think maybe, okay, here's the thing. I'm going to talk, I want to talk about a theory, and I'll blur it with my discussion on Philip and Bellows.
Ooh, okay.
Because we've mentioned Bellows, mentioned him and whatever, but Bellows, real name Philip Woodabane, is also one of my favorite characters. Because, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because again, the fandom has so many headcanons that I keep thinking are true, but haven't actually been confirmed yet.
Okay.
But here are the things we know for sure. Philip Woodabane, at one point in time, found his way into the demon realm. From the human realm. He wants to be a witch hunter. His ultimate goal, like, he says this to Luce at the end of the season 2, that he wants to be a witch hunter general,
which is possibly the dorkiest thing he said in the entire show. Like, yes, it is bad and dangerous, and it's gonna result in him trying to kill people. Like, yes, it is serious, but also, what a loser. Anyway, continue.
but of course, a show all about witches, there's going to be the witch hunter as the villain, and so in order to do that, he manipulates people and comes up with this plan to.
It's kind of hilarious because they give you clues that he's from like the 1600s early on, but never did it cross my mind that like we're doing the witch hunter thing, like in a way that's kind of genius. Yeah.
Yes, he is just a Puritan with religious trauma and like dumps it on everyone else.
You're not wrong is the wild thing. Yeah.
And so like Philip is in this world that he hates. He has, and again, this is something we have yet to know, but he has all these glyphs on his arm, and he has this weird curse where he has to eat palismen, and that I am assuming is why he's alive hundreds of years later. But that's what turns him into a goopy monster thing. And I just, I mean, just that alone, right, of him being in the demon realm and like probably slowly going mad and never like, okay, I just love I love the foil of, you know, Philip and Luce, because they're both the humans that came into the demon realm, and they both just experienced it completely differently, right? Because like Luce is so open to everything, and Bellows continued to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into his own obsessions and belief system. And he truly thinks that he's doing what is right for humanity in killing the witches.
Right. It's such a fascinating moment when he, like at the end, when he tries to connect to Luce about that, being like, I don't want another human to be destroyed by this place. And she's so disgusted by that. She's like, how dare you treat the dynamic that way? Like, that's so messed up. And I love that reaction because she does not care that there's technically humans and other things. She's like, I could not care less. Exactly.
And like that's a good point too, of like, I'm not going to see another human destroyed by this place. Well, that human was Caleb.
Okay. Now we're getting into it. All right.
Okay, let's get into
it. Here's what I've seen. In the show, I've seen hints of another person. In the journal, there was like a thing with 2 silhouette heads instead of just one, and there were all the portraits in the Mindscape. That's pretty much all I know. For quite a while, I actually had no idea why people. This was after I finished the finale. I had no idea where people were getting the name Caleb. And at one point I was like, it can't be because of that goofy joke Hunter made about calling himself Caleb Jasper Blood Williams, right? That can't be it. But then I was chatting with you about it when I rewatched the finale. There's a bit where it's an absolutely horrifying moment, and I hate it so much, where the whole squad is fighting Bellows at this point, and it's crazy. He's in monster mode. Things are falling. The ceiling is collapsing. He's fighting everybody. And there's one point where he zips over to Hunter specifically, and suddenly he has the goopy monster body, but his own real face for some reason. And he says, Hunter, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to hurt me? And Hunter is just reliving 16 years of trauma in 5 seconds and doesn't know what to do. So I think he just yells, you're lying or something.
Yeah.
But the camera focuses in on Flapjack, and for some reason, Bellows gets super angry and screams the name Caleb. And I was like, I didn't catch that the first time because I thought it was just a yell. And there was like a lot of other sounds going on. But on a rewatch, I was like, okay. So what does this mean? So now I finally understand where everybody was getting the name Caleb, unless there are even earlier references than that I just don't know about.
Well, a lot of people guessed that, the name was Caleb because of Hunter's joke, basically.
Really?
Because here's what happens. Because when the kids ask what his name is, and he can't say his own name, Flapjack tweets at him, and then he says, Caleb Jasper Blood Williams. So it's implied that Flapjack is the one who gave Hunter the name Caleb.
No, wait. Okay, hang on, because that means... No, stop. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, that would mean... Okay, because you did mention this when we were texting about it, that Flapjack might have been around from the beginning. Like...
Yes, so...
Oh, no. Like, Flapjack might have been there when they were still Philip and Caleb.
Yes, so...
That's insane to think about. Okay. I thought they were all, like, baby palismans. Yeah.
Yeah, the theory... Okay, all of the ones they adopted were basically palismen that are, like, you know, adopted, or palismen who have had other owners over the course of time, right? And so the theory is that Caleb is Flapjack's original owner and the original carver of Flapjack.
No.
And here's the theory on that, because in the images in Belos's mindscape,
Oh, no. Okay.
you see the kid that looks like Hunter, aka Caleb, is carving stuff.
No, come on, really?
Yes.
Oh no.
So like Kid Philip has like a wooden mask and a wooden sword, and Caleb is seen carving those things for him. So that's the implication. Two other things that are in the episode where we get Luz is able to communicate with Mrs. Nocetta, and they say V and all of that. Jacob Hopkins, the crazy person, talks about how there's a story of two brothers who get tempted by a witch.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so the theory is that Philip and Caleb are brothers.
Okay.
And one of them, in the photo that he shows, the illustration, has a bird on his shoulder. So there's another implication that Flapjack it was, with Caleb.
No.
And so that's like
that's why he went to Hunter in the first place then.
I mean,
it could be.
I truly think that Flapjack only officially accepts Hunter when Hunter states his deep desire, which is what palismen do. Palismen will wait for a witch to state their intentions before, And so what Hunter actually says is something along the lines of like, he and Luce are talking, and Luce is like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And Hunter is like, well, at least you get to choose, like he wants to be able to choose his own destiny. And that is when
Lord,
Flapjack
okay.
chooses him as a witch. But also, like, it just
no.
happens to be that he was also probably Caleb's. Anyway.
I don't... Oh, okay.
And so from this, okay, I know we're really deep here.
Yeah. No, this is great. Keep going.
Like, just simply the implication that Philip murdered his brother over and over again, basically, by creating grimwalkers of him is absolutely insane to me.
Do not love that.
And then, like, so this is all fan theory. It hasn't been confirmed. I really think we're going to get a full Wittebane timeline in this next chunk here. But, like, the basic theory goes that both of them, like, they lived in the time of witch hunters and the, like, Salem witch trials, etc. And they were, like, a part of that, enjoyed that, etc. And then whatever, they ended up, like, they get lured to the demon realm, or possibly even Caleb gets lured by a witch and Philip is left behind. Philip finds another way to save his brother. Okay. But whatever happens, like, Caleb ends up marrying a witch. And again, there are images in the Mindscape where this is true, where there's a witch with her hood up. Okay.
Oh, no.
And she's also seen as being pregnant, so it's clear that Caleb has descendants. Okay, so we're getting to that point. And then probably because of that reason, that, you married a witch, that's like absolute, like, you are a heretic and the devil has a hold on you or whatever. That's why Philip murdered his brother.
Okay.
But that's not all, y'all.
Because that leaves the kid, right?
That leaves the kid. So guess what? The Owl House, it has been said in an episode or two that there is a family that's historically been palisman wood carvers over generations, and that family just happens to be the Clawthorne family.
Okay.
So the theory there is that Caleb is like Ida is a descendant of Caleb.
Whoa, okay. That's not where I was expecting this to go at all. Okay.
And like you can also take the and this could totally be not true. Right. Like I like to believe it because you can also take their character designs as a show of that, because they all have the weird like hair flipped back and thing going on.
I love it.
Like
I love it. Okay.
Hunter and Ida and like Ida's dad especially. And then not to mention every single Clawthorne has a bird for a palisman.
Okay. All right. Okay.
This is the theory corner. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
You can't. Okay, no, okay, this is what had me tripping even before you said all that stuff.
All right.
So, baseline. Beginning of season 2, you're watching. Hunter is Bellos' nephew. That's what we know. We move along through season 2. It was a trick. Hunter is not Bellos' nephew. He's actually this crazy clone thing from da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Move along. Get to this point right now. I guess Bellos... Hunter technically kind of still is Bellos' nephew. Just like great to the 50th degree grandnephew in a really messed up way.
Yes, no, that's exactly
come on. This is crazy. Okay.
So that's my Wittebane timeline.
I was so unprepared for the Clawthorns to become a part of this. Like,
yes. I mean, it makes so much sense to me.
No, stop. Because they keep talking about how Luce and King have basically been adopted, and they're basically like Ida's children and they're siblings with each other, which would mean Hunter is essentially the same.
Yes.
Which is going to make me cry, like right now on call. No, yes. That's incredible.
I want Hunter to be a Clawthorne confirmed.
No, I can't. Oh, my lord. This is buck wild. Okay, I actually do have another thing I wanted to ask you about because in just the days since I watched the finale, so it's only been like a week, I think. I've seen two fan things I didn't understand. One was I didn't understand where people were getting the name Caleb, which has been, we've covered that. Two, where are people getting the theory that Hunter himself has palisman wood, like, as part of his body? Like, what in God's earth? What is going on there? Like, people don't even say it like it's a reveal. They say it like, well, as we already know, blah, 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 Hunter is part palisman. And I'm just like, where? Who told you this? I don't understand.
It goes back to the reason we knew he was a Grimwalker. It's this book that Philip walks by.
Okay.
It's like in his cave thing. And so... it says the list of ingredients for a Grimwalker, which includes palistrum wood. It includes Skeletodamus scales and sleep something lungs and... The
sea monster?
Yes.
The sea monster that Bellos specifically sent Hunter to go get?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I mean...
Call back.
That's pretty morbid. No, but like Hunter himself was sent to go get it? Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh, like he could have already been prepping another one.
I mean...
I am losing my mind. Okay.
So that's why we know that he's made of palistrum wood. And a lot of people like interpret it differently, like how a Grimwalker works and whatever. My personal interpretation is that he still operates like a normal, like, biological thing. It's not like if you cut him up, he's got
right. He's not Pinocchio.
Magic. Yeah, no.
Okay.
But like that's just the ingredients to make it happen.
You know how we talked all about how like Hunter's character growth is so fascinating because of everything that happens? You can disregard all of that because it's just Flapjack. Flapjack is the reason for everything getting better in Hunter's life.
Honestly, though, Flapjack does a lot to like push Hunter in healthy directions.
It's the sweetest thing because the first couple scenes, Hunter is like, I don't understand why you're following me. Get away from me. You're gonna get hurt if you're near me, and I hate you. And like in an extremely short time, it's him talking over the walkie-talkie, being like, "Stay safe. I love you."
It's so
incredible.
precious.
Yeah, it's
I
literally
love
the
it.
best.
I love Flapjack so much. Would die for that palisman. Absolutely.
Oh man.
With all of that, like we've already been down like theory corner, but like I still want to talk about any other things. So I'll preface this as well by saying that we are recording this episode before the New York City Comic-Con Owl House panel, which I'm sure will reveal other things.
Is that before? That must be before the.
That happens this Thursday, and we're recording this on a Tuesday before that. So you will hear this episode, listeners, after that Comic-Con panel has aired, but obviously we don't know what that's
right.
Has. So, check Fanimated Podcast on Instagram and Facebook and etc. And maybe I'll probably be freaking out about it there. But so take it with a grain of salt if we already get something wrong. But for season 3, and more specifically just the special thanks to them, which is airing on the 15th, what are either your theories or your hopes, I guess, for that episode?
Real quick to set the stage, at the end of season 2, everything goes absolutely buck wild. At this point, maybe we don't even talk about the Collector yet. Maybe we save him for next time.
We can talk about the Collector when he's more in the show, because he's been in the show for about 60 seconds. Right.
The Collector is so fascinating and weird, I don't even know how I would get into it, so I'm going to push that off to the side. Suffice it to say, Belos' whole plan went off, but the crew was able to stop him, but in doing so, they, I'm going to say accidentally, possibly unleashed something so much worse, and it made the last 5 minutes of the finale so absolutely crazy that now we are at a status quo where Luce, Amity, Gus, and Willow, and Hunter, I think that's everyone, have gone through the portal and are back in the human world, and the last scene was them opening the door to Luce's house, and Luce's mom being absolutely stunned to see these what I can only describe as depressed elf children just standing on her doorstep, and like that's the end of the show. So we don't really know what's going on back in the Boiling Isles other than God is tearing the world apart. Yes. But it's like a weird playful child god who doesn't know what death is. So there's that going on. And Luce and Co. are in the human world. Both of those things are absolutely crazy, so everyone is going wild trying to figure out what in the world is going to happen next, where are we going to go from here. So, I think it's more... On the Boiling Isles side, I don't even know where to begin. It's like it feels so impossible to even start thinking about what could be going on.
Yeah, I would agree that like everything in the Boiling Isles probably won't even be touched on this special, like this coming episode.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I guess that's my theory, but like
sure.
So I've been thinking mostly just about the human realm stuff.
Me too. But yes. I've been thinking mostly about the human realm stuff purely because I feel like that's easier to latch onto. Like, everything on the Boiling Isles is such a huge question mark at this point. But with this side, at least we have the jumping off point of, like, how would these characters act in Connecticut?
Yes.
Because...
We've had the isekai. It's time for a reverse isekai.
Reverse isekai. Yes. It's so good. Because, like, what do I want to happen? I mean... The gremlin part of my brain that wants pain wants everyone to like acknowledge what happened and like try to... The last shot where Luce is opening the door and like desperately hoping that it'll lead them back, but it's just an empty shack. As the camera pans out, I didn't even notice this the first time, Gus breaks down crying like on the ground. So, like, I want to acknowledge how messed up everyone's mental state is right now, but I also understand if we don't entirely do that because we have to somehow move along towards the story.
I know, it's like, what do we have time for?
Yeah,
like...
exactly. No one knows.
Although, I do have on my quote-unquote wish list for this episode that there is another panic attack or meltdown.
Right? I mean, it would be fitting, honestly.
It would make sense.
Gus and Willow are separated from their families and everyone they've ever known. Same for Amity. Hunter, in particular, has, I feel like, really doubled down on the trauma. I guess.
For Hunter in this place, like, if they're going to learn about the Wittabanes, and that's going to be rough on Hunter.
Oh, okay. Hang on. I had not considered this. I was still just thinking about, like, how messed up he is about seeing Bellows get blown up in a pile of goop, and then, like,
that too.
part of Bellows came through the portal in, like, a weird sludge, and there was a shot in the credits specifically highlighting that, so we know it's gonna come back. And, like, all of this, I'm almost tempted to say that all of this pales in comparison to Luce. I don't think I'm gonna say that because it is all incredibly important. But Luce is going to be... I don't know what I would do if I was her, and I'm so fascinated to see where this goes. Because to be put in a situation of, I want to reconcile with my mom and I want to process everything that happened, but we don't have time because we have to figure out how to save the other world, is, like... I find that incredibly interesting, and like, is there going to be time for her to try to explain what Earth is to her best friends? Like, is there going to be time for her to be like, y'all, the rain doesn't boil your skin when you touch it? Like, are they going to have to hide their ears somehow? Are they going to have to learn what school is? Like, I'm so fascinated to know where this goes. And that's why I was so excited about that promo image, because it very much painted a, like, a Goonies, Stand By Me, Stranger Things vibe, where it's like the squad all getting ready to go solve mysteries.
They're gonna go fight a monster, yeah.
Or fight a monster, yeah. And Luce's mom is in the group, which is delightful.
A++.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, every writer, thank you for not sidelining her somehow, or just being like, oh, she knows but she's fine with it, or anything like that.
Yeah, no, she's gonna go kick some Bellows butt.
Yeah, I'm so glad that she's, like, 100% on board with this, even if they do have to somehow confront each other. I'm so glad that V is a part of the group, because, like, I really liked her episode, but she's also had very little to do since then. And I love the idea of her finding a place as part of this friend group, because she has so little else. Like, she literally doesn't have anywhere else to go, or any other family. And I don't know what... Well, I was going to say I don't know what mystery they could be solving in the human world, but you bringing up the Wittabane thing... Okay, now we've got something. Now we've got some possibilities.
Yeah, because here, think about this even. Like, in season 2, as Luce is trying to find a way back to the human realm, she obviously needs or finds, you know, a lot of stuff about Philip Wittabane, and that kind of is like leads into all of that. Well, Philip Wittabane would also be the way to learn on how to get back. Like, it's the only other, Bellows is the only other, like, confirmed human to cross between realms, other than possibly Caleb, right?
Like, even though she knows everything about him now, and even though she hates him, she might have to try to find his research and his plans and everything to figure out how they can...
Or, just as they try to research getting to the demon realm, it just... I feel like the Wittabane story will just pop up, because, like, it's linked. Like, the Wittabanes and the portal, they're linked together somehow. There's so much we don't know. I mean, like, where did Ida get her portal in the first place?
That's such a good question. Oh no.
And, like, there are a lot of theories that I won't go into now about that, and, like, maybe that will be answered, you know, in this next episode. So, like, I truly believe that thanks to them is a referring to thanks to the Wittabanes. Like, it'll be all about the Wittabanes.
Okay. Ooh, that is such a more, like, weirdly melancholic, sort of dark meaning of that title than I was expecting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because it's all thanks to them that any of this is happening, any of this exists.
Okay. Okay. Concern.
Also, I'm pretty obsessed with the Wittabanes, so I also just want that deeply. But, like...
Yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, there was the shot in the finale where Gus used his illusion thing, and we got 3 incredibly quick shots of Belos's memory. And I didn't pause and, like, try to dissect each one of them, but I did notice that they were happening. And they wouldn't put that in there if Belos didn't have more going on in his past than we know about, you know?
Oh, yeah. And that brings up a good point of Gus has seen the memories of Belos, so, like, he's traumatized extra. And also, does he know about, you know, Hunter being a Grimwalker?
Oh, boy. I think I might have already told you this, but Hunter keeping that information a secret is so endlessly fascinating to me because he clearly... It feels like... how to put this? He was making careful baby steps towards trusting people and making friends with people, and this is something that feels like it is knocking that back and making him regress in a way. Because he has suddenly gotten this new piece of information. I feel like it's pushing him more towards, I was right the first time, I can't trust anybody. Because he said in the finale that he is not able to tell anyone that. Like, he is afraid that if he tells them that, I don't know what he's afraid of, I guess. That they'll disown him, stop being his friend, I don't know. But, like, just him carrying that, specifically in terms of being afraid of telling his friends. I don't know why that's so interesting to me, because, like, because, I don't know, just his whole identity falling apart and the way he's been able to tentatively build a new one off of these people who are showing him real friendship. I feel like he is afraid that that is going to be lost too if they knew what he learned. And he brought it up in such an interesting way, because he brought it up when he was talking to Luce about the fact that she helped Philip, and he clearly thinks those two things are, like, comparable. And Luce probably doesn't, you know? Like, I don't think she would ever say, like, oh yeah, that's a bad secret, you should keep that one to yourself. Like, but in the moment, she doesn't really know how to respond, so she just agrees, like, yeah, okay, I won't tell them. And I don't know. I just find that super fascinating. I don't really have an endpoint here.
No, I think those are two secrets that could come out for this episode, you know? Like, that she helped Belos and that Hunter is a Grimwalker.
Yeah.
So, I've got a couple of other things on my wish list, and then I'm going to ask you one last question. Okay, so here are some other things that I have that I would like to see or would just be fun. So, all of the kids eating pancakes.
Specifically pancakes.
We need real flapjacks.
Right.
We need some reference to giraffes again. We need to.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Now that they are in the human realm, a car chase would be epic. Thank you.
Oh, they're gonna lose their minds about cars. Oh man.
It would be so fantastic. I mean, Hunter is old enough; he can drive. Jacob Hopkins returning. You know,
oh, okay.
Crazy witch hunter guy. Telling them about the Wittabanes.
Yeah, he didn't get arrested or anything, right? He just kind of got beat
not
up
officially.
a little bit?
I don't
okay.
think. Yeah.
Okay.
He got captured in his own trap and left there.
Yeah.
Huntlow confirmed would be nice. Hunter and Willow. That's just me though. You don't have to ship them, but I do.
Oh my gosh.
I think they're pretty cute. Yeah, Camilla beats Belos with a bat, please.
Oh, I would love that. Are you kidding? Also, before I forget, it hasn't super crossed my mind, but it is extremely endearing how Hunter continually calls her captain because of the sports thing. Like,
super cute.
That's fantastic. A+ character work, yeah.
A++.
Very much on board with that, yeah.
Also, I appreciate that, like, it isn't confirmed right now, and it is kind of just, like, one-sided. Hunter clearly has a crush, because let's be real, Hunter needs some time to, like, deal with his own emotional issues before he gets into a relationship. But
you are more perceptive than I am. I did not pick up on this.
Hunter blushes, like, every time he sees Willow.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
This shouldn't be a surprise.
I can miss things occasionally, or all the time, I guess.
Well, you know what? That just goes to prove that it might not be canon.
You're right. That just goes to prove how like engaging all the other stuff is in this show. Yeah.
Exactly. But I would love to see some Huntlow confirmation, or just anything to keep my spirits alive.
anything to stave off the pain. Yeah.
Exactly. And then my final question for you is, what is Luce's palisman going to be?
Oh yeah.
So Luce has carved a palisman, but carved it into an egg instead of a creature, in order for it to get to choose who it wants to be.
I still feel like the first thing they thought of was, we need to push this back to season 3, and the second thing they thought of was, it's because she wants to let it choose for itself. But that said, it's an extremely good line, and I like it a lot.
Yes.
What is it gonna be? I mean, has every single one we've seen been a real Earth animal so far?
That is an excellent question. We've got a bumblebee, we've got a cat,
Right.
We've got
A lot of birds.
A chameleon. Yep, we've got tons of different birds that all are human realm birds, by the way, which is a little questionable. We've got a crab, we've got a sloth. Yeah, they're all like real animals.
If we're limited to real world animals, my answer is going to be different. Because if it is a real animal, I can't think of anything in particular that would have like a callback or a character significance or anything as far as Luce really liking a certain animal. Nothing is coming to mind. If we're not limited to that, I mean, like a tiny titan, like a mini king, is that a possibility?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if that's even something they would consider.
I don't know.
Like, boy, that's a really good question. I'm trying to think of any other options.
Well, I'll say, like, part of me would really love to see it be a bird, because then she can be a clawthorn, you know?
Yeah. Aww.
Except that I also really, really love the idea of it being a bat.
Ooh, okay.
That's been a popular one going around the theories, and
it would be very Azura, like the whole wizards and familiars and stuff.
So I like that idea a lot too, but also I'm open to being surprised.
Sure. Because
I feel like that's got to happen this episode.
Yes, I hope so. Wait,
I hope so.
Okay, hang on. Does she have it?
Yes, she has it.
She does? Okay.
Dana Terrace drew a promo picture where Luce is staring dramatically into the distance holding her egg palisman. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad it didn't get left behind. Okay,
I mean, we didn't know if the palisman were with them or not in the human realm until the actual promo image came up and Flapjack was there and Ghost was there. And so we were like, oh, confirmed, the palisman are with them. Thank the Lord, because Hunter can't go a day without his emotional support animal.
No, he would crumble. I'm totally drawing a blank. Who is Ghost?
Ghost is Amity's cat palisman.
Yes, thank you. Yes, okay. Yep. Oh, it would be cute if hers was also a cat, now that I think about it.
Okay, actually, I changed my answer. Luce's palisman is a black cat to go with Amity's white cat. And then it's like a Sailor Moon thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are just so many things to think about.
Yeah.
There's so much to think about.
There's only one thing I feel like I didn't get to, and it's purely because I just totally forgot. Y'all, this show is so funny. I have, like, totally overshadowed it by just yammering on and on about the character stuff and the plot stuff and the emotional stuff and the trauma stuff, and I have totally forgotten to highlight. Earlier today, I think I sent you this. It was like the Owl House season 2 out of context, like just to remind myself of some of the goofs and stuff. And I'm continually blown away by how good this writing is and how good the vocal performances are, because they are excellent at their comedic delivery. Every single character absolutely slays me. I personally think Ida is one of the best performances. She's done a ton of voice work. She's been in BoJack Horseman. She was the I forget her character name, but she was the big guy's wife in The Emperor's New Groove.
This New Groove, yeah, that's where I recognize her voice.
Yeah. She has an extremely fun voice, and she's so good in both emotional and comedic ranges. I love everybody else's performance. I love Bello's performances. Now I'm getting off topic because it's not terribly funny, but but it's still a really good voice.
Yes, all of the voice acting is phenomenal. Not to mention, Hunter. What's his name?
Yeah, he does such a good job.
Zeno Robinson, is that him?
I believe so. One of his funniest lines in the entire show is when they do that thing of like panning over to every character who all say a repetition of a certain line, and it gets to Hunter, and because he's in horrible pain from the fight that just went down, just goes
Fantastic.
For some reason, it's the funniest line in the show. I don't know if I can tell you why. Yeah.
So,
oh man,
Zeno Robinson is Hunter. Absolutely fantastic.
Gotcha.
Really sells that panic attack that we love so much.
Yes. Oh my lord. How can someone be so good at that kind of voice work, but also extremely good at being a ridiculously dorky teenager trying to connect with other teenagers, and also on top of that, be like a good villain at the beginning of the season? Who's like genuinely like snarky and like says intimidating stuff. How can one person do all of that? I'm in awe.
Range.
It's
and then
ridiculous.
Wait for it. If we have actual Wittebane flashbacks, is he going to voice Caleb?
Oh, no, that would oh, boy, okay.
Anyways, well, he has voiced the other Golden Guards in the flashbacks, so...
Oh, that was him? Oh,
yeah.
Cool, okay. Mm-hmm. I didn't know they sounded really similar. I wasn't sure if it was the same guy. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good touch. Alex Hirsch, as both King and Hootie, is...
gold.
Absolutely preposterous.
I mean... who else could voice them?
Yeah. I'm convinced that the King voice is just the Bill Cipher voice without any of the effects except the high-pitched one, which is actually really endearing and cute.
Cute.
Until he kicks in the emotion in season 2 and makes you absolutely cry. I don't understand how he was able to do that. It's masterful. Hootie has not made me cry, but Hootie is... possibly one of the goofiest voices I've ever heard, and I really adore it a lot, especially the episode that he narrates.
It's too perfect.
Oh man. Yeah. No, the voices are so I truly want to highlight that because I think that's one of the best. I think that's one of the reasons this show is so successful and why people are so enamored with it, is because you don't hear people doing a performance, you just hear the characters, and they're all amazingly good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but also it's funny. That was my original point, is that it's funny.
It's funny and traumatic.
Yeah.
So
it's got everything. It's got the whole package.
It really does. Ugh. So
Lord.
Thank you so much for listening to like 3 hours of us blabber on about this phenomenal show. If we haven't convinced you to watch the show by now, I don't know what to tell you, but like I mean, now's the time. Season 3 is about to air.
Absolutely, guys.
It's phenomenal.
You will not regret it.
Absolutely not. It's just fantastic. So thank you again for listening. So if you want to hear even more discussion about the Owl House, if 3 hours wasn't enough for you,
yes,
I do have a couple of Owl House specific episodes on Patreon, patreon.com/fanimated. If you can, donate however much you feel comfortable with, cancel at any time. It really, really helps out the podcast, because obviously it costs money to just keep this on the air. And all of that money goes right back into the podcast and making it better. So we really appreciate everyone who's already part of the Fanimated crew over there. You are awesome, and you are keeping the show alive.
Woo!
Woo! You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube at Fanimated Podcast. I will be doing a Fanimated YouTube live stream again, specifically for... thanks to them, because I'm going to need to debrief. So October 16th, I haven't decided a time yet, but if you're subscribed on YouTube or follow us on Instagram, you will absolutely see the notifications about it. So check that out, and stay up to date with all the other live streams and fun things we're doing. The music is written by Jamie Krause.
Aww.
Whoa, he's a cool guy. Who would have thought?
Jamie Krause, certified cool guy. I get to tell people that now. It's official.
It is official, because it's on a podcast.
I should probably get like a Twitter or something so people can actually find me when you give me a shout out. That's so nice.
I would love to be able to give people some sort of social media handle, actually, so that they can be like,
idea.
yes,
I should do that.
You should. You can the art is done by myself, and you can find me on Instagram at CandorDraw. And we'll be back soon with more Owl House discussion.
More Owl House.
Because our next episode is going to be overanalyzing thanks to them. So best of luck getting through this season 3 premiere. And
we're all in this together, folks. Just hold on.
Hold on. Back to the trauma house we go. So in the meantime, stay tuned.
And stay animated. Oh, I should say, I have 2 things that I just thought of. One, I want Ida to be happy, and I don't think we're going to get that in this episode. I don't think we're going to, if we get anything of Ida, it's not going to be happy. 2, it just occurred to me, we might get to see the gang in like normal human clothes, which has the potential to be hilarious.
Already guaranteed to be hilarious.
Oh, excellent, excellent.